Hey everyone, welcome back to the IWP Network, or if it's your first time, welcome hanging out with us. Thank you so much for choosing this podcast, and feedback is always welcome. So make sure to check the links below for all social media links, audio and video versions of this show, and merch. We look forward to hearing from you and hearing that feedback, and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We are back live, Tornado Tech podcast.
Where am I?
Yeah, Brian is at the table. He is in the flesh, hanging out with us. Very exciting. Andy is scrambling. He's a little behind today. He's still eating his cake. If you can get it, we don't have a straight shot of him, but
All right.
he's not wearing blue lipstick. That is the cake. It is.
I think it's delicious.
I know you're really into
I tried
it.
to make it green, but
I love yellow.
am I on camera here?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
It's Liv Morgan over here.
What is in this icing?
Ecstasy. It's gonna be a great podcast. So yeah,
My whole mouth.
It'll be fun.
Are my teeth are blue, and my tongue is blue,
Yeah.
and my lips. This icing.
yes. So everybody, wish Andy
So
a
what-
happy birthday here.
It's the 24th. As we recording is only the 23rd,
Yes,
but
Close enough.
we are mere hours away.
mere hours away from your birthday.
Mm-hmm. It stained my hands.
Yeah, it's probably going.
This is the strongest icing I've ever had in my life.
Do you remember that gum that would turn your mouth blue? I think they made
Tongue
that up.
splashers. Remember that? Yeah.
So we want to thank our sponsors, Abaddon Tattoo Studio, a unique professional experience nestled in the small town of Pine Grove, Pennsylvania. They provide high-quality tattoos and piercings in a relaxed, professional, and sterile environment. Also, if you're like us, how am I going to read this one? If you're like us in the morning, you're probably a zombie until your fourth or fifth cup of coffee. Well, not anymore. Fellow podcaster Shark Bite Biz has launched their own coffee line, Dead House Coffee. That is the freshest coffee around. Store-bought coffee can be sitting on the shelves for months sometimes, but not this brew. It's shipped within 24 hours of being roasted to ensure you get the freshest coffee experience go around. Go to deadhousecoffee.com. That's deadhousecoffee.com, and use your code TORNADO for 10% off your purchase to help out this show and also that business. Don't be a zombie. Dead House Coffee. Get back to life.
Don't be the zombie either.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit there, bro.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, give it a little bit. I went to buy the coffee. I haven't got around to it yet, but it does look like it'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds good from reading everything on the site.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, where you lose one, you gain one. So we lost somebody here in our Patreon, which is okay. It happens. I understand. Sometimes you can't do it. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. But we currently right now we want to thank our active members. We want to thank our brand new member. I'm gonna probably butcher your last name, so let me know if I did it right or wrong. Tommy Borzrath, Bozarth.
Bozarth, I believe.
Borzarth.
I have not
I would say
seen it.
Bozarth. but I don't
Bozarth.
know.
I like
Bozarth?
that. Bozarth.
Yeah, I've never heard that name before.
Boar's Head.
Brand new donator. So thank you so
And I
much,
just
man.
made fun
Thank
of
you.
him.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Boar's Head is damn good.
It is good.
Yes. Tree of Life Metaphysical Shop. Brad Zalonis. The PA Pile Driver Podcast. Hyreth, in other words. Jay, Austin Blackwell, and Jennifer Myers. Quick little news. Obviously, check the links below to go follow us on all social media, YouTube, the whole nine. Just hit 500 subscribers on YouTube.
I know. How about
right.
that?
They finally did it. It took 3 years, and here we are.
500.
500.
The PWI 500.
Yes, we made the top 500. I think we're at 501.
Right. Even better.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, just give us a.
We're going
A
to
little-
make a list of the YouTube subscribers. We're
Yeah.
going to rank them.
We're gonna
Top
rank all
500.
top 500 YouTube subscribers.
Everyone but one guy makes it.
The IWEP 500.
Yeah.
Mhm. That might be a thing soon. We have enough time to prep it. We'll do our own 500 list.
Oh my God.
That's all you.
Yeah.
Number one, Andy Henry.
I'll do a
That's easy.
top 20.
Yeah, maybe a top 20. But yeah, so and also we're gonna be at the Legends of Hamburg?
Legends of
Hamburg.
Legends of Hamburg at the
Yeah.
Field House, the Hamburg Field House in
What day?
Hamburg, Pennsylvania.
What date is that?
Was it June 12th?
July 24th.
July 24th.
July 24th.
July
sorry.
24th. 4 days
Um,
after my birthday.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, we'll have your banner hanging out.
Yeah, plenty of parking there. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
The legendary Hamburg Field.
Mhm.
A lot of cool stuff happened there.
So many cool things. That was where WWF, before superstars hit the road, that was their TV taping spot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they would do literally everything there. And if you look back at a lot of those classic Piper's Pits, where Jimmy Snuka gets a coconut hit over his head, where Frankie Williams gets beat up, that's all at the Hamburg Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
So Andre the Giant was there, Hulk Hogan was there, Vince McMahon was there,
Mm-hmm.
Roddy Piper was there. You name it, they were there.
Mhm. I won the Outbreak title.
Andy
I
won a
wanna say that.
Andy won a
Andy had it
championship
right.
I just want
there.
to say that.
Yeah.
I would say the best for last.
Yes.
I also watched the ECW show there when they were there. When I was
Really?
hot. Yeah.
There was like a November to Remember. They did like night 1, night 2 before it's on pay per view, and night 1 was in Hamburg, night 2 was at the arena.
Nice.
It was the hot spot, like in the that was the 70s.
It's a great building.
In the early 80s.
It's a great building.
Yeah. It still is nice. They still get to sit on the original chairs.
Mhm.
One gets broke just about every show, but they still have them.
Yep.
I'm bringing my own chair.
There we go.
Those
Oh,
are rough.
those chairs suck.
Yeah, they're rough.
It's 123 South 4th Street, Hamburg, PA, and you can find them on Facebook. It's Legends of Hamburg dash the Pro Wrestling. What is it? Fan Fest.
Yes.
That's it. It's at
Um,
Legends of Hamburg.
Do you have the
Hamburg.
list of some of the names announced?
Yeah. So far announced, we have Tornado Tag Podcast is going to be there.
Whoa, we're going to be there.
Speaking, hey, I'm leading with the big one now.
Yeah.
And then PA Pile Driver. One of our
We'll be sharing a table with High Tension
HCW.
Wrestling,
Yeah.
and we'll
Camp Leapfrog.
and Camp Leapfrog, which is super exciting.
Very excited for that.
Also, Outbreak Wrestling, we represent it.
Yeah, and then after the Fan Fest is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. Outbreak Wrestling returns.
There we
in front of
go.
a live crowd for the first time. Very excited.
Mhm.
very
You go
excited.
eat at that or drink at that brewery there. Was it 1776?
1787.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Go to
Yeah, the
the
sticker right
West.
there.
Yeah, there we go.
They're
Yeah.
going to have I know they're going to have a barbecue food truck out there
Ooh.
too. They're
Mhm.
trying to get as many food trucks as they can out there.
A lot of vendors.
Good.
Be a lot of vendors. You can and you get to meet a lot of stars.
And it's not going to be that expensive. It's not going to be like $50 ticket or nothing.
Yeah.
And then just to break down the stars real
Yep.
quick, Brooklyn Brawler, our buddy, the Brooklyn Brawler.
we hung out with him.
Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
He was a doink at one point.
Mhm.
A lot of things there. Missy Hyatt, the first lady of professional wrestling. Missy Hyatt's going to be there. One of the all-time heel, these call them valets. We'll call them managers now.
Mhm.
Equality. Missy Hyatt's going to be there. Speaking of all-time great managers, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
baby.
baby,
there.
we got beans and taters.
And he wrote the greatest wrestling theme song of all time.
Yes, he
He
did.
wrote several of them.
He wrote the best.
Which one?
All-American Boys.
Mm.
It's a ringtone on my phone.
I was more leaning towards Sexy Boy.
Oh,
He also wrote, I think, American Made, the Hogan WCW
yeah.
theme.
He wrote
And Nasty Boys. And
so many of
I
them.
think he wrote every WCW one that's not stock. Like Dean
Yeah.
Malenko had stock music.
And
Yeah.
a lot of the earlier WWF ones he wrote too. He wrote like Crank It Up, which is used for the Young Stallions.
Yeah, I don't think he wrote Demolitions, but
No, I,
That was
I
Rick
think
Derringer.
Rick Derringer might have done that.
but like
Yeah.
Honky Tonk Man,
Mhm.
stuff like all them ones. Big Boss Man.
Speaking, if you want a legendary announce musicians, I just literally, as I was about to say, it left my head. The guy who wrote like the Undertakers and stuff like that.
Jim Johnston.
Jim Johnson. He just did a podcast with. It's coming out soon with Chris Van Fleet.
Mhm.
Fleet.
Oh, nice.
Very good interview. I like him a lot.
Never fired him.
They shouldn't. They still have, we do still have more people for Hamburg.
Yeah, yeah.
New Jack. If you're a fan of
Watch
Secrets of
out.
the Ring,
Yeah.
I'm not saying nothing now. He's going to be in our company.
Hey, don't
Well,
say nothing.
I'm not getting stabbed.
Just watch yourself.
here's some old school for you. Former tag team champion, multi-time WWF, and I believe even WWF tag team champion. Our generation, like me and Andy, we know him more as a road agent. We'd always be in there to break up the fights. Tony Gurria.
Tony Gurria. That's
New
one of my
Zealand's
mom's
own.
favorite wrestlers.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah. I should
you
get
get her
a picture
autograph?
and give it to her.
Yeah.
She used to go to the field house to see him back in the day. So he
Oh,
did
wow.
wrestle there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Schuylkill County's own Snitsky.
Gene
Oh, how about
Snitsky.
Snitsky.
there.
It's not his fault.
that? That's not.
And then last and certainly not least, the one of the more underrated workers of the early WWF era, one of the better intercontinental champions of that era too,
Arriba.
Tito Santana. Yep.
I met Tito Santana at the same show where I watched Abdul the Butcher and Terry Funk almost kill each other.
Really? Wow.
Tito Santana was at Shenandoah High School once.
Wow.
Yep.
I watched him at a show. It was a couple years ago now, but I'm like, wow, Tito's still moving around pretty good.
Curtis
Not
says-
like he was in the 80s.
Curtis
but,
is excited to be there with you guys. Yeah, same here, man.
Yeah.
We're pumped to
yeah,
finally see
and
each
there's
other.
more to be added.
Yeah.
The field house is
absolutely.
pretty big. I'm sure the ring will be in the middle. so
Yeah.
I'll probably get pictures with
I know a
wrestlers
lot
in
of
the
other
ring.
podcasts do tune in and check out. If you want to debut your podcast or show off, like just kind of get your name out
Or
there,
if you're a vendor,
you can buy a table as well.
yeah, just go to the Legends of Hamburg Facebook and message them and they'll set up,
Yeah.
work a deal.
So as of right now, the first round of Camp Leapfrog's Frog Sport is going out. So you can go check them out at Independent Wrestling TV right now. We're sharing a lot of them as well.
I believe it's on their Facebook. It's facebook.com. It's going to be, let me pull it up here. At Independent Wrestling. Very easy to find.
Yeah. Tonight is Janaya versus Big Calix, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And listen to this. Janai Kai is 5'6", 125.
Ooh.
And for Big Calix, this is height big, weight really big.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
He's a big fella.
Yeah. He's a PBW once.
Really?
Way back.
Really?
They had a Chikara match. Yeah.
He was very entertaining. Like behind the scenes.
Yeah, I didn't get to see him.
He's
fun. I don't really
Yeah.
know too much about him.
Funny
so
dude.
All I can say he's a big dude.
He's huge.
He's probably about 6'4", somewhere around there.
He's a big guy.
Way over 200. So poor Janaya.
So we got to see Janaya during WrestleMania weekend at Bloodsport.
Yep.
She was in a fight there along with Yoya and Matt Mikowski, who were all in the same Bloodsport fights that you're going to see also be participating in Frog Sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll talk more news later on our Patreon. If you'd like to join us over on our Patreon, it's $5 for bonus content, $1 for a shout out. So you can come over. We have a lot of content out there. I'm pretty proud of it. We have a lot going on. I think this will be our 5th or 6th Tornado Tag episode. That's where we really just talk about what's going on right now. We don't do full show reviews or anything.
There's a lot to talk about.
But there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And that's where we kind of, like I said, let our hair down a little bit. But that'll be recorded tonight and be up immediately following.
Post haste.
Yeah.
Immediately, if not sooner.
But tonight's topic.
It's the greatest topic in the history of our podcast.
Yeah.
Our great podcast.
Our great podcast. Yeah. Sidewalk slams for everybody and back leg front kicks.
I need to be a little more, I guess, clear on our banners when I'm promoting the episodes.
It's not going to be on the actual show.
Yes.
Card subject to change.
Yes. So as I posted it, to me, I didn't think of anything because we've done this before. It was like this week's topic, and we put this high school. Well, I just put this Friday, Tony Shivani, and then on the thing it says our topic tonight is Tony Shivani. Yeah. So unfortunately, Tony Shivani, if you're coming here to see that, is not going to be on the show.
He's not here. He will not be calling in.
Listen.
He's here in spirit.
We're not saying we would be upset if he
that sounds like he's dead.
Yeah.
He's here in spirit.
We're just not at the level of being Big Calix enough to get a Tony Schiavone on our show, but doesn't mean we wouldn't accept him. So if you're ever listening to
maybe
this,
someday Tony Gurria first.
We'll go up the ladder,
and we'll have Andy's mom as a guest when we get Gurria on.
Flirting with him.
Then we'll get Tony Atlas. We'll really be climbing the ladder.
Yeah, it's funny that the ring announcer is higher than all these guys, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Not everyone who steps between those ropes and hits a rope is always the guy who makes the most impressionable.
This is true.
Yeah.
Not everyone in the Hall of Fame deserves it.
Hillbilly Jim. Anyway.
Limo driver.
Nope.
That tonight we are talking Tony Schiavone.
We are.
Very excited for this topic because it's something that I didn't really know a lot of Shavani because I was not a WCW guy. And neither was he.
Yeah.
Not really big on WCW.
Yeah.
Especially in the
not many
years.
People that were in. No, I'm not talking about Jim Crockett Promotions because Tony Schiavone did love that. And Ric Flair loved that. A lot of people love that. Not a lot of people look back at working for WCW and be like, yeah, that was a great time. I loved it.
Yeah.
Maybe Hogan.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe until the end with Russo.
I mean, Hall and Nash, they got to do whatever they wanted.
Well, yeah.
Hall and Nash don't remember working. They were drunk the whole time.
The lower level guys are just happy to be there.
Yeah, they got a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like Lenny Lane.
Yeah. It's
Lodi,
funny.
Who's Scott Steiner now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
If you're on Facebook, just look up Lodi from WCW. And
he was in the video game.
I think he was.
Yeah, he was in one of the video
games. Signing
games.
guy from Ravens.
Yeah. So I'm trying to go back with this is pre-Peacock. I was going back and watching all the Nitros, but I don't think everything's up there yet.
Probably not.
Or I just haven't gone to look because I'm lazy. But I was like, I'm gonna go back and watch all this old WCW. And then I listened to 6 podcasts with Shivani and Jericho, and everyone's just like, it was awful. It was the worst time of my life. But so it's oh, you're really selling me to go back and look at the old stuff. But
there's some good stuff. Not so much in 2000, 2001.
1995, 96 WCW is very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. But yeah, and then he also has a graphic novel coming out.
Butts and Seats.
The Butts and Seats, which we'll get into that famous catchphrase.
Yeah,
but it is officially over. So if you didn't get a chance to back it, you missed out. You'll be able to buy the book once it comes out, but you're not going to get those limited edition stuff.
Covers, yeah.
Very excited to say we're going to get a Tony Schiavone autograph.
That
yeah,
is cool.
is he signing the book or is he signing the print?
I think he's signing like you get like a card, like an old school card, like a wrestling card,
Oh, okay.
and it's the art of the book as the card. I could be wrong though, but I'm gonna get the Batman pin. We're getting the Batman pins and stuff.
And then the championship foil embossed logo
Yeah.
on the
That's
bottom
cool.
of the book.
Yeah, if I was kind of kicking myself, I was before you got here, Andy. I was telling Tony about how before he got back with AEW and stuff in the very, very beginning of the podcast with Conrad, how if you would buy one of his pro wrestling
call.
T-shirts, he would call
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
Like, oh, I should have bought one. Why did I buy one?
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
wanted to buy one. I'm like, I don't feel weird talking.
Yeah, I would be the same way. Like, oh, I can. Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
How are you? I liked when you did wrestling.
yeah. That's it. We gotta go.
Remember when you
Yeah.
were fighting with Bobby Heenan? That was
You
weird.
feel like that old Chris Farley skit on SNL?
That was great.
Yeah. You remember when you were in the Beatles?
Yeah, remember?
That
Let's-
was awesome.
So to connect this to me, because I can, the one guy whose name is Josh Ross, he did
Okay.
my Wonder Woman tattoo, and he's doing some art in the book.
yeah.
Oh,
Joshua Ross is full name. He has a place in was it F or not? It's in Bethlehem now. It's a tattoo shop.
The book looks
Samurai
awesome.
Raygun?
The book looks
Yeah,
awesome.
so he's on it, and Dirk Manning does a lot of it. But I'm pulling up right now. I want to see how much it made here, real quick.
look, if it's not Abaddon tattoos,
Yeah,
I don't care.
How dare I?
100. I think 137.
135,392, and all they
Yeah.
wanted was 20,000.
Yeah, they made $137,000
It shows you the love for Tony Schiavone.
absolutely.
and it's a comic book.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
I actually,
By
because
his
of this
life.
comic book, I went and I ordered the graphic novel. What's like the history of professional wrestling.
Oh,
It's like a graphic novel. It's all the history of
yeah,
professional
I
wrestling.
haven't
That's
seen
very
it.
cool.
Yeah, so I ordered that too. They said it's a good graphic novel. But yeah, let's get into Tony Schiavone.
Let's get into Tony Schiavone. Why not?
Well,
Oh, there's ladies coming.
that's Tony's dog, Bug.
Yeah.
we couldn't get Tony, but we got Tony's dog here.
But it is technically Tony's dog.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Lady, not Ladybug.
Well, technically, Tony isn't Tony.
yeah.
yeah.
How about that?
Tony is not Tony.
He is Noah. That he is one of those people that goes by their middle name. His name is Noah Anthony Shivani. Born November 7th, 1963.
Nice hoodie.
Born and raised in Craigsville, Virginia.
See your hoodie?
Not-
I do.
Yeah, she's wearing my hoodie.
Not West Virginia like Conrad always says.
No, Virginia. Virginia, the good Virginia. Well,
I've been on some shows in West Virginia, and they were not good.
they will. Some place in Virginia will literally pay you if you're working like remotely. They will pay you $12,000 to move there.
Wow. Really?
$12,000.
Yeah, West Virginia. Let me tell you, I was happy with the sheets there,
Oh,
and then I
okay.
got the hell out.
You got the hell out of there.
Yes, I did.
He has been married to, if you know the podcast, Lois
Mhm.
Shavani since 1981. They have 5 children,
5.
and they had them within like 7 years, I think.
You're
They
getting
had-
at it.
Yeah, he was busy.
Yeah.
And one of them, Matt Shavani, one of his 2 older kids. He's worked for Fox News for nearly a decade. He's in the TV business.
Mm.
He's also worked with MLB Network, and he's brought that up on the podcast with Conrad Thompson. Very small town in Virginia that Shavani's from, Craigsville, Virginia. It is near the West Virginia border, so he's kind of close to West Virginia. And he graduated from a very small high school, Buffalo Gap High School near in nearby Swoop, Virginia. And then he moved on to James Madison University, where he graduated in 1980. And he always wanted to get into sportscasting. That was his goal. He was a sports guy. In particular, he loved baseball. And he wound up getting a job fairly quickly out of college at WTON. Actually, it was a volunteer. I take that back. He was a volunteer. He basically went to them and said, "Hey, I heard your thing on the High Tension Network with Scott Fineout."
Yeah.
Same thing Scott had said. I think he said that on the podcast where he's like, he went to PPW. He's like, I'll do it.
I'll pay you.
I'll pay you to do it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And so Tony didn't go that far. Tony's not as generous as Scott. But he said, I'll do what you need me to do. He had grown up listening to very much like another guy we know from PPW, Paul Bowe. This was covering high school sports. And that's where he kind of cut his teeth in broadcasting. And he's like, I'll do whatever you need me to do. He grew up listening to
Kind
the
of like me
station.
at Leapfrog right now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll carry someone's bag and I don't care.
Yeah. And he paid his dues, and he would set up equipment. He would keep stats during basketball games. And he wound up filling in, calling a basketball game because, at least for the first half, the regular announcer just didn't show up because he went to the wrong school. Like, I don't know if he's like, oh, I thought it was a home game for that school or something like that.
I guess it was just either too far away or he's like, fuck it.
Well, he showed up after the second. He showed up in the
so he
second
did show,
half.
okay, because like that's like Pottstown, Pottsville for people around here.
Mhm.
That's you would be an hour away just about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but in this case, he just covered the first half, and when he got back, the guy who owned the station, Al Charles, said, "You sounded terrible, but you did the right thing. We needed to get on the air." So he's like, "You need to get better with it, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad you took the initiative to do it."
Mhm.
And he would get another break during the regional basketball championships that year. Big snowstorm. Basketball is a winter sport. Virginia is not too far from here. We know what it's like when it snows.
Mhm.
And he was the only person on that station to make it to the game. Somebody else from another station, a rival station, made it there too. But Shavani's station was the only one that could get their phone line connected to the station to run the show. So he was the only person in the area calling the game, which featured Fort Defiance High School. And their star player was a guy named Del Curry, who went on to a lot of acclaim as a professional basketball player in his own right. But now he's best known for his kids, Seth and Stephen Curry.
I was gonna say Curry. Yeah.
Yeah, Del Curry was their father.
and Curry Man of TNA.
Yeah.
He's hot. He's spicy. He tastes great. So from there, his career was off. Again, he showed the initiative. He made it there when nobody else could, and so he got more regular gigs at the time. And so he starts putting feelers out and starts putting applications out for jobs. And he got a job with his alma mater, with James Madison University, doing. He was going to do football and basketball for them. But then he also had put in a application for a minor league baseball team in Greensboro, North Carolina, the Greensboro Hornets. And he got that job too. And it was away from home. It was a less prestige job. It was single A baseball, which is the lowest rung you can still be part of the major league system. But baseball was his love. He didn't love basketball. He didn't love football. He wanted to call baseball. So he takes the job and he winds up becoming the radio voice of the Hornets. And there in Greensboro is where he meets Lois and they marry. And a year later, they have a child on the way. He works quick. And he wanted the promotion. He's like, I'm starting a family. It's time to move up in the world. So this is where kind of fate comes together. He puts in an application. He sees that the AAA, which is the next step up in baseball, a little more of a high profile gig, higher paying gig, with the AAA Charlotte Orioles. And if you remember back to an episode we did a few months ago, the Jim Crockett episode, the Charlotte Orioles were a minor league club owned by Jim Crockett Promotions.
Mhm.
And the person who was really in charge with the family, with that, the general manager of the team, if you remember from that show, you should have done your homework, was Frances Crockett, the sister of Jim Crockett Jr. and David Crockett and Jackie Crockett, who were more in with the wrestling thing.
Who also, her husband was going to be the next in line.
And then he wound up cheating, and then he was out the door.
Yeah.
And so not long after he takes the lead broadcasting job for the Charlotte Orioles, he starts pestering Francis Crockett. No, I want to do the wrestling. I want to do wrestling too.
He would go to wrestling shows,
Mhm.
which would have been Jim Crockett at the time, or whatever it was known as. So yeah, it was Jim.
Mid-Atlantic Championship
Mid-Atlantic,
Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions. So yeah, he's like, well, he knows that's where their money's made. Like, this baseball thing's nice to do these concerts. The family makes their money on wrestling. That is what paid the bills. That's what kept the lights on. Everything else maybe made some money here and there, but wrestling was what was their business.
Mhm.
And so
Which is crazy because like they didn't really market like WWE had the toys and stuff like that. Like they didn't come up with that stuff until later.
They hardly even had shirts.
Like T-shirts
No.
are not like
It
you
was-
can't go find
It
like
was
old.
It was the shows.
It was the
live
shows,
shows.
They didn't
Yeah.
get paid for the TV.
Yeah.
The TV was basically their. I don't know what their exact arrangement was, but most TV things at that point, until Vince changed it, Vince would actually pay. Vince would pay stations to be on because he knew he'd recoup it at the arena.
Mhm.
The TV show was something they would do for free for the TV station. Wrestling would get great ratings, so the TV station was like, "We're getting it for free, and we're going to get a high-rated show. Where do I sign up?"
Yeah.
Like in Memphis was ridiculous. They would get like a 70 share. They would get like Super Bowl ratings every day, every week for Memphis wrestling.
That's crazy.
Yeah, everyone would watch. It was the
Yeah.
thing to do.
We were when we were going to get your cake and stuff and snacks and everything else
Mhm.
I bought because it just like had a huge sweet tooth.
I forgot to tell Heidi to eat some.
Yeah, she will. But she we went to the toy auction to see if I could finally get an Alexa Bliss Barbie doll or something like that.
Yeah,
Or anything.
There's none.
Dude, it's not just AEW. Like the WWE stuff,
sells out
all of
almost
those
immediately.
stuff is gone.
So they got a case of Masters in the Universe. My friend works there today. gone. He bought 3 of them, so there's 6 in the case,
Yeah.
and the 3 out sold.
Yeah.
So and like anytime they get AEW, they last for roughly 3 hours.
They had the belts there. They had a lot of the
Yeah, they
replica
do get a
belts.
lot of the belts
and the ring was there.
And then WWE guys, like sometimes, like there'll be like the New Day or Roman, or like the
Mhm.
only ones that kind of stay there, but everyone else just sells.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Right.
It's it's like I wouldn't say it's 90s yet, but wrestling is getting popular again. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
People just buy the toys. I mean, that's
Yeah.
great.
yeah, it's a hot commodity. It's
And we haven't had a WWE game, a video game in like a year now.
yeah.
Well, besides that, Battleground.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was awful.
Oh, they added so many people to that game now.
Yeah.
I went and turned it on. It's like, holy shit, all these people there.
and for free, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on PS Now too. Like if you have, I don't know if it's on Xbox Game.
Yeah,
Pass,
I
but it's
mean
on
for
PS Now,
free,
too,
but
yeah.
it ain't that good.
I have to go back and play that. Maybe if they did some
Cool.
changes to stuff, I
mean,
want
if
to
they
try it.
change the gameplay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, but yeah, we haven't had a real
proper.
and we haven't had an AEW game yet. But I'm sure once the next one does come out, which will probably be WWE first, 2K21.
Yeah.
it'll sell
Which looks
crazy.
good. The
Yeah,
little
so
cinematic
far.
thing they put out look good.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Just like you said, you can't find wrestling toys. Like wrestling
No.
merchandise in Walmart is like you cannot find it.
Mhm.
It's
And Target sells out in Target too.
Yeah. Like it's pretty. It's
So imagine if they would have had the Jim Crockett promotion
Yeah.
action figures. I
Mhm.
mean, they would probably have been lame because it was the 80s, but still,
Like
something.
I think the first thing they really did like that, they had 4 Horsemen vitamins in the 80s.
Yeah,
Really?
They do like 4
Of
Horsemen
all
vitamins.
things.
And
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes would do Mellow Yellow commercials.
You
love
think
the
it's
Mellow
better,
Yellow.
that
The taste of beef Mountain Dew, baby.
go down real smooth, baby.
I
Real
love
smooth.
Mellow Yellow is probably my favorite.
Mellow Yellow
soda.
is good.
I like Mellow Yellow.
At Burger King. I don't know if you're a peach
when you
flavored
mix it?
fan. And you
Yeah.
get mixed flavors.
Mhm.
Peach Mellow Yellow.
So down south they have the red Mellow Yellow, like
Oh.
standard.
Really?
Yeah, it's like red Mountain Dew, like it's
Mm.
standard. It's in every cooler.
It's like cherry.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
good. I like the regular one better.
WWE 2K21, not 22, not sure is coming out. No, 22. They definitely just put a
The
video
one they
out for.
announced at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was Cesaro and Rey
2K22
Mysterio.
then?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
was
think it
it
was
2K it's always a year ahead.
yeah, I had the
2K21 was scrapped. 2K22.
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay. Well, that one is officially announced.
Yeah, it was cinematic, but
Still,
interesting thing is it's coming out for technically the PlayStation or the PS4 and the Xbox. Like they didn't make a compatible version yet.
Oh,
I'm sure
they
next
will.
gen will be on the way.
Yeah. If not, it'll be upscale.
Or what they'll do is just put it out and then crank the sliders.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Back to Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
When we left him off, he was doing baseball, doing very well. That one year he was in the team in Greensboro, he was that league. I think it was the South Atlantic League. He was their broadcaster of the year. That was a guy right out of college. So
Yeah.
he's already shown a knack for this. He moves on to Charlotte and he's with the Orioles. And then finally in 1983, he gets the opportunity. And Francis Crockett says, we need somebody to go to Ric Flair's house and interview him. And it's you. And Tony Schiavone is starstruck.
Yeah.
at
Just
first.
shitting his
That'd
pants.
be awesome. Can you imagine?
I don't know if I'd be able
And,
to.
and what year was it? 86?
83.
83.
I think it was when because that was setting up for Starrcade, and I think it was when they had the thing where Race would put the bounty out on Flair, and they
What was it? $50,000 then a man who's tough enough to take out Ric
Anybody.
Flair.
kabuki,
Yeah, $50,000.
and they did a thing where I think it was Bob Orton Jr. and somebody were the ones that claimed the bounty on Flair. I forget who the other person was, and so Flair was out there acting like, oh, in 1983, mind you, the year I was born, you weren't even thought of. Ric Flair. Oh, I think Ric Flair's gonna have to retire now. He's already been the
Yeah.
world champion once, and now he's gonna have to hang it up
Probably
because
over.
the bounty's been claimed.
Jesus Christmas.
And so they go to his house, and they go to Terry Funk retired 2 years before that.
Yeah.
They go to Flair's house, and Shivani's the one doing the interview. Like, I'm back. I want the gold. I want my title back to set up for Starrcade. That's the slow build to it. And I think Shivani did backstage stuff for Starrcade because once he did that interview with Flair, they started using him a little more sparingly. He was still doing the baseball. That was his main gig. But they would work him in every now and then. I think by the second Starrcade in 84, that was the one like WrestleMania 2 where they did it in Atlanta and in Greensboro. And I think he was in one of the locations for that. But by 1985, and this really intertwines, this part of it really does intertwine a lot with the Jim Crockett one we did. And again, it's here because in 85, the big thing that happens is Black Saturday. WWF takes over Georgia Championship Wrestling spot on WTBS. And when that happens, eventually it crashes and burns, and Crockett buys a time slot. And when that happens, they need announcers. And Bob Caudle was their normal announcer when they do the studio show in Charlotte or Greensboro. he lived in Winston-Salem, was too far away to go to Atlanta, which is where they're doing this new show. So for the new Saturday 6:05 show, World Championship Wrestling, the one everybody loves, the one that's on the network, it's Tony Schiavone and David Crockett. So now he is being plucked out of the baseball team, and he is a full-time wrestling announcer in 1985. And so when 2 years later they go to pay-per-view, Starrcade 87 is the first pay-per-view for Crockett, even though it was only on like 6 cable systems, because Vince was like, either take Survivor Series and you don't show Starrcade or you don't get WrestleMania. So even though it was only on those little few cable systems, they had Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross, who was coming fresh from the UWF, as your announcer. So he calls the first pay-per-view ever in Jim Crockett Promotions / WCW history. And by the end of the 80s, not too long after this, 88 is when Crockett sells. Mainly because Starrcade was such a money loser. They had so much money tied up, and Vince just screwed them.
And they made the Dallas office too. So
Yeah.
they were spending a lot of money.
They bought a jet.
Maybe flying a little bit too much on the
Yeah.
jet, and they were really burning through cash.
Spending it all up.
Yeah. And they didn't have merchandise. If they had merchandise, they probably
Yeah.
could have supported all that.
Yeah.
They didn't have action figures. They didn't have.
Can you imagine like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes t-shirts and action figures?
Yeah.
Well, they had the Four Horsemen shirt, I believe, and they had the Dusty shirt, but
But they didn't have like a Magnum would have had a shirt.
Yeah.
It would have sold like crazy.
they didn't. And I don't think they mass marketed like WWF. They did so much catalog business.
Yeah,
Like-
but the ice cream bars.
Yeah.
They were out by 88.
And that WWF catalog, they would make a ton of money.
Who made the rubber toys?
The big,
LJM was
Yeah.
WWF.
Yeah, but
Was it
were they
the-
for WWE?
Yeah.
yeah, back in the day, and I believe they might have been AWA, might have had them first.
Yeah, I think AWA had
They-
AWA had hard plastic. They were the Ronco toys, the
okay,
Remco
yeah,
toys.
yeah,
the
Remco,
dog
yeah.
toy, the chew toy one.
That was LJN. That was WWF.
Yeah, the ones that don't move, they're just like rubbery, but they're kind of hard. Like you could knock someone out with them if you wanted to.
Now, there was a licensing deal, and I don't know if it was through Crockett.
I feel like I had a Vader one.
Yeah, there was WCW ones then
Later.
in like 92.
Vader was Leon White in this at this
I
point,
have,
the baby
I have
bull.
the Vader one, and it's on my stove right now. And he's like this. And
Yeah.
it doesn't move.
Yes.
I had him and Hogan, the WCW.
And the Vader one was like you can kill somebody
Yeah,
with
he
it.
That was
so
in the
hard.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could knock someone out with that Vader.
100%.
Yeah.
You can
Now
kill.
the Macho Man Hogan, but he was like that, you know.
All right.
Crockett didn't have.
I'm only saying this because I
Oh,
don't
shaking everything?
No. Does he sound distorted or muffled?
Who, me?
My head just sounds different right now.
I feel like I sound like far away.
No, I think you. I do have you turned up all the way,
Okay.
but like I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
know what's
I
going
don't-
on here.
My head feels different right now.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I do sound a little muffly to myself.
Okay. I
I
just.
don't know. If
Yeah, Andy
that's-
might need to come up a hair.
Give me the Howard thing. Where I'm like, Robert.
Yeah. I sorry. I apologize, everybody who's listening.
You may or may not have a head cold.
Yeah, we'll say it's a head cold. Yeah. All right.
Boy, hello, sibilance.
All right. Maybe
The
just
brown fox. jumped
maybe
over
just
the fence.
a hair back a little bit. Maybe you're just. To me, it was like you were
This
you were
is better. No,
mod.
this is worse.
Yeah.
This is worse.
I think you need to bring Andy up a tad.
I'm too. That,
All right,
whoa,
good,
hey,
good there.
hey.
Yeah.
A
All
little
right.
more to that.
All right. I think. Sorry.
I did sound muffled. Hey guys, I just want to talk to my hand real quick.
All right.
So
First time.
the first toy, in AWA had the Ronco toys, and you had like Rick Martel, you had the Road Warriors and things like that. And I think they had a licensing deal with Crockett to have a Flair action figure. And they were smaller and hard plastic, but they had movable arms, movable legs, and they had like a rubber head. You could like squeeze their head and
Yeah,
crush
kind
it.
of like He-Man.
Yeah. I think I had the Rick Martel one. I think I bought it at a flea market.
Wow.
And I think I had the Long Riders somehow.
I had.
They weren't even that famous.
I only had WWE guys.
And yeah, I had a ton of the LJN ones. I think it was WCW at this point. I think the first toys that Crockett well, it wasn't even Crockett, it was WCW had were the Galoob ones. They were just hard.
Yeah, real
plastic.
hard. Yeah.
And I had like Ric Flair, Doom, Arn, Sting. And that was like the 90s. So what we're getting at here is by the end of the 80s, Jim Crockett Promotions sells to Turner, and Tony Schiavone was not happy. Like many people, he did not like the changeover from Jim Crockett Promotions to Turner Home Entertainment, WCW, whatever you want to call it.
WCW.
So he does what a lot of people did at this time, and Vince McMahon makes that offer, and Tony's shipping up north to the WWF. He signed a 1-year deal for what he would call a, quote, substantial amount of money, which they usually did throw some good money at these
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah.
announcers, it was guaranteed money, so that's pretty good. And he has called it the best year of his career until he got to AEW. He
Mhm.
really enjoyed working in WWF.
He said it was like going like into Wizard of Oz. Like,
Yeah,
he says it probably
stepping out of black and white and into color.
Yeah, he said like at times where like you were just doing backstage, like the quality, the budget was low, like nobody really knew what they were doing.
Right.
They were just kind of winging it. And then he went to WB and he was like, the first day he was there, is like they had like they would build sound booths wherever the stadium was, and they built these sets and they did all this stuff and they had production meetings and everything was like top notch. And he was like, "This is awesome.
Yeah,
this is awesome."
And so he did a lot of things there. The one thing I would always remember, and it's not something that's really remembered too much, but I had these taped because '88 was around the time my family first got the VCR where you could record off the TV. And it was on so late, and I was starting to go to like kindergarten around that time. They would always tape primetime wrestling for me. It came on from 9 to 11 on USA, and I couldn't stay up that late. But they would tape primetime wrestling for me. And at that point, around like 88, 89, they did a thing called Coliseum Corner to try to sell Coliseum video. And it would be Tony Schiavone who'd be on with Gorilla and Bobby, and he would do a thing where he would introduce a match from like the one I always remember. This is on the tape for the Royal Rumble. This is in like the middle of 1989. And they showed that there was a 6-man match. It was like 2 out of 3 falls. It was the Hart Foundation and Jim Duggan against the Rougeaus and Dino Bravo, Team Quebec. And with Legends of Hamburg guest Jimmy Hart in their corner and Frenchie Martin. And I remember them just him throwing in that match. But he also did he did a lot of Wrestling Challenge with Monsoon. He called 2 pay-per-views with Ventura. He called SummerSlam 89. And then he also called
Royal Rumble
1990 Royal Rumble. Yeah, because apparently Vince was at the beach all day and didn't want to do it. It was supposed to be Vince and Jesse. He's like, "Tony, you're gonna do it."
And he kind of fell out of favor with WWE. They didn't like his voice.
There's always that perception that people think he was too Southern. That's what they say. Vince, like same thing that happened to Jim Ross.
Yeah.
That if you have that little twang in your voice, Vince, even though he grew up in North Carolina, born and raised in North Carolina, he tends to look down on like hillbillies. There's always those hillbilly characters
below Maryland.
Yeah. And then he also, from what I was reading too, when he was at WB, like he fell out of favor a little bit, but he was still being groomed to be that guy. Like Vince pretty much told him like, "You're gonna take over my spot at the table."
It seemed like it because Vince stayed around on commentary until like the late 90s. He was around for a while, but Monsoon wasn't. Monsoon, I guess he was around too, maybe because they couldn't find a replacement. But yeah, like Craig DeGeorge didn't really work out. Craig DeGeorge was there before Shivani. I'm trying to think of other people they may have brought in. But yeah, it was usually, until Jim Ross came in, it was Vince and Gorilla were your play-by-play guys. Like you had your color guys. You had Jesse, you had Heenan, mainly those two.
Raven for a little bit when he was
Johnny Polo, yeah, 93.
Yeah, but he was saying that's what Vince was kind of telling him. He was the next guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm sure Vince tells people what they want to hear a little bit, yeah.
And then they get a trash bag at their house.
Being the champ.
Then you get that trash bag.
Yeah. More of that on the Patreon, maybe.
Yeah, more of that on Patreon.
So even with all that, Shivani is happy professionally, but his family life kind of suffered. He's from Virginia. I think his wife was from like North Carolina, or at least lived there quite a bit. I think she might have had family from like Pennsylvania, but
I think Pittsburgh, right? Outside of Pittsburgh.
He said one time in the podcast, but I forget what.
Yeah.
He said his sister's from the Pittsburgh area, and there's a bag of chips you can only get from Philadelphia. Like
what?
There's a potato chip you can only get in the Philadelphia area that he's a huge fan of. That was one of the questions he was asked in the podcast.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, Brian
knows
Philly, and I know chips.
Hers?
We're both hers.
I don't think they're hers.
Now hers is in like Nottingham.
Yeah. There's a
but when
lot
his
of chips
sister
down that
when
way.
his sister comes from, when they come up and they're from like that area, he's a big fan of
Middlesworth.
They're not Middlesworth.
Middlesworth isn't Philly.
I would have marked out if he would have said Philly.
Yeah.
It was on AEW Unrestricted with him and Aubrey. He talks about his favorite snack.
I'm trying to think of what would be.
I know he eats the hobo food like Conrad says, like Vienna sausages and stuff like that.
I want to say hers, but I don't think it was hers.
Yeah, well, hers is out of like Montgomery County. It's close to Philly, but you can get it up here. You can get hers a lot.
Yeah, Utz goes down North Carolina.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, maybe you can find it.
I'd like to find out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Tony and his wife and his kids, they didn't really want to raise a family in Connecticut. The cost of living was a lot higher than it was in North Carolina. You see that with a lot of people that were from the South that work in the office. Jim Cornette very famously hated living in Connecticut. Some people, Bruce Pritchard seemed to take to it. Bruce Pritchard seems a little more cosmopolitan is what I meant to say. But yeah, that was not Shivani. And they decided they want to move back down south. They have 5 kids that are all at this point like 7, 8 years old and younger. So they are like, Vince, it's not working out. I want to go back. So he does go back to, at this time now, WCW. It's fully entrenched as WCW. And for a few years there, until like 93, he was pretty firmly slotted as the number 2 play-by-play guy behind Jim Ross. Jim Ross was your guy, and then Tony Schiavone would do like your B shows. Like Jim Ross was, I think, the Saturday show at that point. Tony Schiavone was worldwide. And then that one of them, and you had like Chris Cruz and Gordon Sully was still doing some stuff at that point. But then in 1993, that's when Bill Watts is removed from WCW. Very controversial thing. He actually got removed for an interview he did in the Pro Wrestling Torch, and some remarks that were construed at the time as racially insensitive.
Oh, is this where like he said because of genetics?
No. What Bill Watts said, and most people will tell you, Bill Watts wasn't racist.
Yeah.
But he had some viewpoints that people they got it in front of the wrong person. He basically said it was almost like more of a libertarian thing, where like he was saying, if I don't want to let black people in my store, I shouldn't have to, was basically what he said. He's basically saying he didn't like the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
And Hank Aaron,
was he pretty much saying it though, because that's how, he not saying he would personally not have black people. If he was just saying,
when he owned Mid-South Wrestling, he made Junkyard Dog as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
He hired black wrestling.
Yeah. But it was more or less like kind of
I should have the right to not hire, or not even hire. Like,
listen, I don't like hate speech. I don't like when people make fun of people for their sexual orientation, their race, their color, religion, but I do feel they should have the right to do so. But we have the right to think you're an asshole. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't want to get too political. I think that's different saying like I should be able to open a store and not let black people in. I think that's
I mean, we have that thing right now where this people won't make a wedding cake for a gay couple.
Yeah, but that's more like, yeah, that's true. It's a weird one. And I don't want to get too political.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not willing to make them a cake, I'm sure if there was some type of detection where they're like, I know these gay people are coming, we'd be like, listen, you just leave.
Right.
If you're already at that point where you're not going to serve them, you know?
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. But once again, if you're that business owner and you want that choice, then I'm just not going to eat your
not a good business decision.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, but that's pretty much, I just want, he didn't say something that would be, he was agreeing to the.
Right. He was saying like, if I don't want to have let certain people into my store, I shouldn't be forced to.
Yeah.
Like Bill Watts worked with Ernie Ladd for years.
Yeah.
As his booker. So I don't believe that. That sounds good. That Ernie Ladd was racist. I mean, no, that Bill Watts was.
I was thinking of the sports commentator who said, like, pretty much saying because
Jimmy the Greek.
Because I don't want to miss.
I think he said something about how,
because at one point in time we were pretty much using, like, during the slavery times they were taking the biggest and the strongest guys, and they were always like, they were like the breeder slave. And he was saying that he thinks there's something to that. The reason why.
Yeah, that was Jimmy the Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Jimmy the Greek that said that, and then he got fired.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill Watts, this interview he does with the Pro Wrestling Torch, Mark Madden, who winds up becoming an announcer in WCW, he was actually with Tony Schiavone for a little bit. At this point, he was mainly, I think he wrote for the Torch a little bit, and he was doing radio and stuff and sports writing in Pittsburgh. He gets that, and he sends it to Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron, if you don't know anything about baseball, he's passed away now. He was a black man, one of the most famous baseball players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
For a long, long time, had the home run record. Does he still have it? I think Barry Bonds beat him.
Depending on what asterisk.
Yeah, depending on how you. But he was a very high-ranking executive in Turner Sports. He played for the Atlanta Braves. It got to him, and Bill Watts was gone. And that's what we're kind of getting at here.
Mm-hmm.
We should do a whole Bill Watts. We should do a Mid-South episode. That would be really interesting. UWF. And Bill Watts is out. And so there's this whole thing where people are jockeying for position. Who's going to take Bill Watts' place? Because he was the executive vice president of WCW. He was basically the guy in charge of the day-to-day. And so Jim Ross was seen as the odds-on favorite. He was Bill Watts' basically understudy. Bill Watts was his mentor. And
cowboy.
He broke Jim Ross in. Jim Ross was a referee. He was an announcer. And Jim Ross had tenure there. He was there for a long time at this point. And people respected his mind. He ran talent relations later in WWF. But WCW's brass goes with Eric Bischoff instead, who's like a low-level, C-level announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Jim Ross was Michael Cole at this point, Eric Bischoff was Vic Joseph, to put it in, like, modern, like, WWE sense. But Eric Bischoff gets the gig as the head of basically running WCW now. Jim Ross is mainly getting a job. He's out. He quits. And he goes to WWF, and he's in a toga. a few months later.
It's weird because one of the things I heard about the Shivani thing is when the three people were bidding for it, like Shavani's name was thrown in as somebody,
Yeah.
but when he said I didn't want
He
it.
didn't want it.
No. When he left WWE and went back to WCW,
He wanted
his
to go back.
first day on the job, he called back Vince's assistant and he was like, "Get me my job back." And pretty much Vince told the assistant to tell him that Vince said, "Make it work down there. That you're not, you're not coming back."
He said that he should stay down there for his family. And stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony said that on his podcast several times.
Yeah.
I called and said I made a mistake.
He said he went back down there and he's like, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was the worst. He goes, it was like
trying to be like George Costanza when he quits and he comes back like the next. He quits on a Friday and just comes back Monday like nothing happened.
Yeah, that's what Shivani tried to do.
That was on Seinfeld because it was when they had George working for the Yankees. Larry David literally did that, and that's where it comes from. Because back
That's
then,
funny.
like the Seinfeld thing, they wanted to make all the stories like real life things that happened to the writers, like they knew somebody it happened to. What happened with that was Larry David was a writer for SNL and he was miserable. And he was there for like half a season, and like one of his sketches got on the air, was like very at the end of the show, and he like makes this whole big thing. I hate this. I quit. You all stay. And he walks out on Friday, and he thinks it over on the weekend, and Monday just comes back like nothing ever happened.
Hey guys, I'm back.
There's probably a lot of jobs that would let that go.
Yeah, we need him.
Yeah, we need people.
So with Jim Ross gone at this point, around 1993, Tony Schiavone becomes the voice of WCW, and he stays the voice of WCW. He didn't do Nitro initially because Bischoff, it was Bischoff, Heenan, and McMichael, who, sad news with that, Steve McMichael, he...
It's Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
Really? Is that to do with the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the ponytail.
He played for the Chicago Bears. He was an announcer for a little bit. The original announce team for Nitro was Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Steve McMichael. But he was only an announcer for about like 6 months because it was all to set up him being a wrestler. And he was with the Horsemen, and he they say he weighs less now than he did in high school, and it's acting very quickly. But yeah, he has ALS.
Yeah,
Sorry to hear
it's a
that.
shame.
And but besides that little blip where Eric Bischoff was kind of your main guy on Nitro, and that didn't last long because he turned heel and joined the NWO. Tony Schiavone was the guy. He was the main announcer. You had Mike Tenay, who had his little role as a professor, and you would have other people. But as far as your play-by-play guy, Scott Hudson, as far as your play-by-play guy, it was Schiavone.
And he started building a lot of good relationships with talent.
Yeah, well, he was kind of what Michael Cole is now, where he was also producing the announcers, and he was always very professional. We'll get into a little bit later. Like not everybody was a big fan of Tony Schiavone, but yeah, he was friendly with a lot of talent, especially the old Crockett people like Arn, Ric Flair, a lot of the production people. Klondike Bill he always talks about on the show, would like build all the rings and head up the ring crew. He was part of that old guard, and that old guard stuck together. And yeah, most people, and unless there are very specific examples we will get to later, but most people tend to have a good opinion of Tony Schiavone. And that bad opinion starts to really creep in the late 90s. And Schiavone's getting burned out at this point.
Yeah, because he's doing Nitro, Thunder, and the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and he's told stories on the podcast with Jericho that like they wouldn't even know what the show was doing while the show is airing.
Yeah, they would rewrite the show on the fly because
Yeah.
there were so many egos in place and so many people had creative control. And, you would write up a show and then Hogan would be like, no, doesn't work for me, brother. And then you have to rewrite the whole show.
He said he was being handed notes as it's happening.
Yeah, that's something.
And
I think might be the idea when Britt hands him notes.
Yeah.
which, by the way, they say this is what happens in WWE now. Like they write this whole show and Vince comes in the day of and like, no, we're not doing that, pal.
It's crazy. It's like the guard. The guard is changing. You know.
Could you imagine that in any other show?
Yeah.
Any other show?
SNL, they're rewriting sketches while the sketches are running. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Just this is completely off topic. Just kind of a WB thing here, but so everyone's been posting like old Samoa Joe like promos and stuff like that and stuff from all over the place. And like you kind of almost forget about it because the way WWE kind of wires your brain to not remember talent. Like and like sometimes I'm like I didn't remember that, and then I'm like, oh my god, when Joe was doing that run where it was like him and Mustafa Ali and AJ and Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy, and he was doing that 6-way thing, and then when he was like he was just like him and the Seth Rollins when we thought he was gonna come back in the ring and he gets in Seth's face. I was like, this dude can talk. He's so good. Like
Samoa Joe is amazing.
Just if you could stay a little healthier. I mean,
it wasn't just his fault. It was their fault.
Yeah.
He dropped the ball. It's kind of like, what do we do with him? Oh, he's fat. We can't do that.
Yeah.
I know they wanted to give AJ that nice long reign. He should have won the title from AJ during that year-long reign.
Yeah, I agree. Just a big disappointment there.
And I mean, if you want to see Samoa Joe, you got to look back at some old Ring of Honor. Like, I don't know if Honor Club does a free trial. Ring of Honor.
Well, how about the video of
3
him
year
choking out
championship
Matt? Matt says
Yeah.
I was being stretched by Joe before
Matt
it was
Turner.
cool.
Oh,
yeah, Matt
okay.
Turner. I almost said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Turner's like in the video. Joe's showing them how to put on a.
Okay,
beard,
yeah.
and he's choking out. He's choking Matt out. Yeah.
Yeah, that reign was historic.
Oh, yeah.
Him and AJ killed it in TNA too. Or in Impact.
Him and Angle had a great thing in TNA. I think one of the matches I remember seeing was the 1 hour Broadway, the 1 hour draw in Jersey with Joe and Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan.
Jesus Christ.
They had a 1 hour time limit draw.
And they had the three-way was popular. It was AJ, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe.
Supposedly,
I saw that at the ECW arena. TNA
wow.
did a house show at the arena, and that was one of the main events.
Yeah, that was like a match they toured for like a year.
the rumor is, I know this always comes up. It's kind of like Jesus coming back. that Punk said, wherever Joe lands, I would be interested in that match.
Oh.
I could say maybe if it was AEW. I don't think Punk's coming back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just too small.
Mhm.
Nothing against Ring of Honor. Well,
But he said Joe is one of those names that would spark my interest.
Oh, wow. How about that?
I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
Just
Or maybe it
internet
is true,
talk.
but will it happen? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe can write his own ticket. Like I think I remember reading somewhere that he's one of those guys that really did take care of his money, even before
Mhm.
he was in WWE. Just from Ring of Honor and Impact, he banked some money, and so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him if he can kind of write his own ending.
He'd be another guy that everyone's like, "Oh, I can't believe they fired Joe. They ruined Joe. They should have done better with Joe." And then Joe will show up at Dynamite and they're like, "See, all they do is hire WWE guys." It's like, shut the fuck. I can't stand.
First of all, I don't see Joe as a WWE guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some people, once you're there, you're a WWE guy.
Yeah.
It's like the AJ. Like, AJ was in TNA for like 10 years.
Mhm.
I mean, I get that that's like your big thing, but yeah, Joe is for me first and foremost a Ring of Honor guy,
Yeah.
and then Impact. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then WWE third.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with Shivani, as he's getting burned out too. A lot of people in WCW getting burned out at the end. WWE they were so far ahead. Yeah, that whole 83 weeks where they're just beating Raw every week, and then Raw fights back and Raw claws back, and now by 1998 Raw's pulling ahead. Like it's still competitive, but from after that one night in Philadelphia, mind you, another one I was at where they teased Austin and McMahon, and Dude Love comes out, and that was the night that they broke the streak. That was the night that Raw won the ratings for the first time in almost 2 years.
But you have to look too what's happening, and it's kind of eerie.
After that, like Nitro won, but they only won like 8 times.
Yeah. But WCW has all of the main events. They're trying to push this main event. They're trying to push storylines, but their undercard is what's keeping people excited for their match quality. Their undercard matches
match quality,
are fantastic. And then your main storylines are turning into a soap opera, turning into Vince Russo. And then nothing against Russo, but that's kind of where it was going. And then the NWO was just getting too big.
Yeah, well, I mean, the story at this time, the storylines in WWF were very Vince Russo too, because Vince Russo was there.
Yeah.
But no, the thing too with WCW,
you have guys like Jericho jumping over.
Yeah.
You have the undercard guys who are putting great matches on now jumping ship.
Yeah. Well, that became big when they let the Radicals go, but at that time the ship was sinking.
Yeah.
Really bad. At this point, in '98, both companies were pretty hot, and I know you don't like him, and not the best in-ring guy in the world, but Goldberg was hot.
Yeah. Oh, he was definitely popular.
And then you have Austin on the other side. So yeah, everybody's on fire in '98, and then the fire starts to go out in WCW. And one of the big moments where that happens.
Well, I have a quick question. Do you think the difference between Austin and Goldberg is Austin was the badass, but then showed he had more character development doing other things, where Goldberg was kind of like, well, we booked him to be this monster. Now he's starting to lose. Now we have no other angle to go with him.
I think the difference between Goldberg and Austin is Austin could talk.
Yeah, I'm saying Austin could be the goofball. He could be funny. He could be this. Where it's like
Austin
Goldberg
had dimension. Yeah,
and Austin cared.
Yeah.
Whereas Goldberg was just there for money.
Well, actually, the difference Goldberg and Austin is very clear. Austin's better.
Yeah.
Well,
Every stretch of the way, Austin is better.
Well, I'm saying that the two guys that you're like, oh, you're gonna watch TV for Goldberg or for Stone Cold.
I mean, they were hot. I mean, they both were probably pulling in consistent 3.5 to 4 rating.
Yeah.
And now
Austin can
barely gets 1.5 points.
Austin can reinvent himself as a character over and over and over. Where Goldberg, it's like, what else is Goldberg going to be besides Goldberg?
Yeah, WCW really didn't know what to do either.
Goldberg,
after the streak ended.
Goldberg was a great character, and that invincible monster will always work. Austin is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a big difference.
Well, so I have my personal favorites, obviously, but my realistic number, like GOAT, like if it's not, I mean, who's your greatest of all time without it being Chris Jericho? That's how I look at it.
The same guy it is with Chris Jericho, Ric Flair.
Yeah, well, Jericho, Flair, or I would
Shawn
just
Michaels.
The reason I would, Jericho, they're my top three, but because I'm a huge Shawn fan, and obviously,
like my personal favorite wrestler ever is Randy Savage.
Yes,
but the greatest wrestler of all time is Ric Flair.
I would say Ric Flair is fantastic, but I think like longevity and what they're both doing, I think Jericho,
longevity, Ric Flair.
Yeah, but Jericho's doing really really cool stuff and staying like.
Yeah.
Like Ric Flair.
Yeah, when he was 50. What was Ric Flair doing when he was 50? He was in Evolution.
Yeah, very true. So Flair's like
Flair was 60 in Evolution.
Yeah, so there you go. At 50, he's probably world champion.
Yeah, Jericho and Flair are like right there. Like obviously they can always reinvent themselves. They can go to any promotion. They can be the big guy. Like it's just awesome to see. But Stone Cold was just there's no touching him. He was on top. He was untouchable.
For a moment in time, nobody was bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Not even Hogan.
Yeah.
For a moment in time, nobody was.
And if he didn't get hurt and he had like 5 more years on his run, then he'd be like, wow, Steve Austin is the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And when they were trying to be like, hey, we want you to do you and Goldberg or you and Hogan, he's like, nope, not a fucking chance.
I think they should have did him and Hogan when they had the chance, because it would have been.
Well,
we got Hogan.
Well, once Hogan did the, you put me over first, and I'll put you over next.
Yeah,
and he was like, I know this game. I'm not playing it with
you.
I mean, they could have worked it out. That would have been.
Well, and I don't know if that would have been a big deal because Hogan and Rock wrestled twice, and Rock won both of them.
Yeah,
so I don't know if that would have been a big deal.
And Stone Cold's not an ego guy where he has.
Oh yes, he was.
Well,
at that point he was.
Yeah, but I mean, Hogan, he would always say his whole career, he goes, I've spent more time looking up at the lights because of Shawn Michaels than I ever did looking down at him. You know what I mean?
Like he didn't even want to work with Jeff Jarrett. That's one of the reasons Jarrett went to WCW. Not like Jarrett was going to put him over.
Oh really?
There's a story behind that. Apparently.
When he worked in USWA.
Yeah,
$33.
What the story I heard was that because Austin, one of the first places he worked outside of Dallas, outside of World Class, was USWA because they bought World Class. So he was working the Memphis territory, and he had his payoff sheet, and it was for 3 nights of work. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was like $45, $60, like $55. So he's looking at this whole pay sheet for this 3 nights of work, and it's like $105 or something like that. He's just looking like, what the hell? Yeah. And he's looking at it, and Jeff Jarrett comes by, and Jeff Jarrett is the promoter's son. That's a big part of this. His dad owns the territory. Jeff Jarrett comes by, he's like, it's not going to get any better if you keep looking. It's not going to get any bigger if you keep looking at it or something like that.
Yeah.
And they say that's stuck in Austin's craw.
All right, I'm cool. I can get by that.
He was getting paid like next to nothing. He said he would just eat tuna and bread or crackers.
The good news is he was kind of a very quick success. He got hired by WCW pretty early, and they were making good money.
Dave says Savage, Steamboat, Bret Hart, his top 3.
You see, everyone has
a very good top.
Yeah, that's very good. Everyone has a different top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Then you say in ring, all around, because in ring and all around.
Mine's Jericho, Shawn.
Ricky Steamboat is great in the ring, but he can't cut a promo.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and like for me, Randy Savage is probably my favorite because he's my first favorite wrestler. So
he was my first. Him and it was tough. I love Savage, but Piper and Perfect were always stuck in my head too. I don't know. I don't
even know my third would be. It's Savage, Flair, and I don't know the third one.
And the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
In fact, in the
Savage,
80s,
Flair, and
everyone loved the Ultimate Warrior.
He
was terrible.
I was rooting for Warrior at WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, we were all like, this guy's awesome.
It's gonna beat Hogan. Yeah.
Then when you're not a kid, you watch him like, wow, he's awful.
Yeah. This dog.
I mean, he looks cool. But
I watched an old interview with him, Jim Neidhart, and the Rockers.
Oh boy,
Survivor Series.
Oh, the tape.
He's running around taping everybody. And Sean's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Somebody's like, this is cocaine in human form.
He would hit the ropes wrong and everything. It was like clear, like you watch one of the matches, like he didn't know what he was doing.
There's a great story in one of Bobby Heenan's books with when they were really trying to put Warrior up and he was the Intercontinental Champion. They put him with Andre. And this is where Andre the Giant probably did the bulk of the jobs he did in his whole career. He rarely lost. And he went around the loop with Warrior, and he would lose by count out every night. Warrior, because Andre couldn't do a whole lot, Warrior would clothesline him. He would roll out of the ring and he would get counted out. That was the match. It was like 28 seconds.
Yeah.
And Heenan would be in Andre's corner. And Warrior, the first couple of nights, would come in and just run in with the clothesline and knock Andre down. And he would just level him. He would come in like
he would hammer on.
Yeah, he would just give him a shoot clothesline. And Andre was having none of this. He's already in pain. He's a vet. He doesn't want to deal with it.
Probably drunk.
Probably drunk. He probably had like a few dozen bottles of wine before this.
428 beers.
Yeah. And so he's like, every day, every night, he's like, slow down, slow down, slow down. And Warrior's now slowing down. So just one night, he holds out his fist when Warrior's running in, and Warrior runs right into his fist. And Andre still takes the bump and everything and rolls out. And then the next night, barely touches him.
Yeah.
The rest of the tour barely touches him with a clothesline. The first night it happens, Andre rolls out of the ring, goes, he's learning.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we're at this part of the story, but Shivani and Heaton have a little bit of a falling out.
It is kind of that point in the story because this is where it gets bad, and this is where people start to kind of turn on Tony Schiavone. Everybody loves him now. Wasn't always the case.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is where it really starts. Well, part of it is that people turned on WCW as a whole because WWF did a really good job of making themselves the babyface and WCW the heel, and WCW helped that because
it sucked.
NWO was cool and WCW was lame.
Yeah.
And that's what they told you for years. So when NWO kind of fizzles out and they get rid of it, all you're left with is WCW, which your own show has told you for the last 2 years, WCW sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And all the cool people are in the NWO. NWO is gone now. So your main announcer is kind of the face of the company. Michael Cole is WWE. Back then, Gorilla Monsoon before that was WWF. Tony Schiavone was WCW. Joey Styles was ECW.
Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it. A lot of people don't think of it like that.
That is your narrator.
Yeah.
That is your narrator. And so when people hated WCW, they didn't like Tony Schiavone. And by his own admission, his work was awful at this point because he was burned out. The product sucked.
He didn't care.
Yeah, he didn't care.
He's phoning it in. You can't blame him. And he was
rated.
And he was still doing Nitro, 3 hours of Nitro, 2 hours of Thunder, and then possibly pay-per-view.
He was doing also too. He was Pro Wrestling Illustrated or something like that, or Meltzer's worst announcer.
2 years in a row, 99 and 2000. He was the Wrestling Observer worst announcer.
Yeah.
And so the end of 98, beginning of 99, it was the end of 98. Raw was taped at this point. Before SmackDown, Raw would be live 1 week, and then that Tuesday, the next day, they would tape the next week's Raw. And on one of the taped Raws was the night that Mankind beat The Rock to win his first WWF title. And very infamously, and we're going to get to that comic book now, it's called Butts and Seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it comes from. Because on Nitro that night, they had Eric Bischoff has Mick Foley go on, or Eric Bischoff has Tony Schiavone go on, like when they do the camera thing in front of when the announcers are on camera. We've been told that Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title tonight. That'll put butts in the seats. And they check quarter hours for Nielsen ratings. And that was at the end of a quarter hour. So if you go from that quarter hour to the next one, in that 15-minute block, 600,000 people turned off Nitro and put on Raw.
To see the title change.
To see the title change.
Like, why would you say, hey, they're going to switch
Hey, something really important going to happen, and this guy that everybody loves is going to win his first world title.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
And then on Nitro, it was like Mike Enos wrestling.
Yeah.
It was some shitty match.
From his interview I listened to with one podcast, he said that, and he goes, this is nothing different. Like, that was Bischoff's thing forever. He would tell you what was happening on Raw.
The first night they went head-to-head, it was Shawn Michaels beats the big guy with a kick that couldn't earn a green belt at the YMCA. That was literally the first. It was the second Nitro because the first night Nitro was on, it was unopposed.
Mm-hmm.
WWF was off for like the dog show or the US Open or something. It was like Labor Day. But the second Nitro was head-to-head with Raw. It was taped, and he's like, Shawn Michaels beats the big guy, Sid.
Yeah.
And they would always give away. Yeah, they would.
Yeah, they come on and they just Bischoff would just spit out the result.
And pretty much he said he just got a note saying Mick's gonna win the title tonight. Shit on it.
Yeah.
And then he kind of improvised the butts and seats line. But he said, like, I wasn't comfortable doing it. Like, he goes, I didn't care. He goes, I would have done it again because I'm going to do what I'm told to do at my job.
Yeah.
But he goes, I wasn't comfortable not, because he goes, Mick's a good dude. It's a big moment in his life. And he even said he personally reached out to Mick and was like, I'm sorry. Like,
Mick reached out to him because Mick was hurt.
Yeah. And he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, Mick, if they tell me to do it 100 more times, I'm going to do it. Right. But I need you to know as a human being, I don't feel that way about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to find very few people who don't like Mick Foley.
Yeah.
They're very few. I mean, there's one I can think of, but they're very few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
But so, that's a big thing. And then Foley's a sacred cow. Everybody loved Mick Foley. His book was out. I don't know, his book wasn't out yet, but
almost probably.
Yeah. I think it came out.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. People adored Mick Foley. And so people got mad at Shivani. Like, they lashed out at him. And then then the other big one is after WCW closes, Bobby Heenan didn't make it to the end of WCW. He got fired. He got demoted to Worldwide. They put Mark Madden on Nitro, and then he got fired.
Mhm.
And when he would do interviews after WCW closed, whenever he would be able to plug his book, because that's when Bobby Heenan did a lot of interviews. Any chance he could take, he would rip Tony Schiavone a new one.
Mhm.
What his go-to thing is, somebody would ask him about Tony Schiavone, like, ask me again what I think about Tony Schiavone. And like, what do you think about Tony Schiavone? And they would flush a toilet. Like that was his thing.
Mhm.
And Shivani has come out and said it was my fault.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because Shivani was in charge of the announcers there, and he knew that Bobby was getting fired. He didn't give him the heads up. And there was other things too, like Mike Tenay's taking shots at him.
Yeah. Well, he said also too. He goes from the interview. He said I wasn't 100% sure. Like I came in and I was told he was fired, and he said he didn't know, but I don't know how true that is. But then he also said that Bobby has a pending lawsuit, so we want zero contact with anyone. With Bobby Heenan. So he just did what he was told and didn't reach out. And he said, if I can go back in time, as soon as I left that office, I would have called Bobby and said, I love you. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this is happening. But because he didn't reach out and say anything to Bobby, Bobby was like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the announcers didn't like him. He was their boss. Not like their big boss, but he was a boss.
Yeah.
He was their producer. And Mike today didn't like him because he would keep finishes from them. Like he would get finishes and he wouldn't give them the other announcers. Okerlund said he liked them personally, but you could tell he was a politician. He looked out for himself. And yeah, he was a company man.
Yes,
so,
he's a family to feed.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand it. But yeah, a lot of people weren't the biggest fans of him. That were other people. And these are also people that, besides Tenay, Heenan and Okerlund were very good friends. Shavani or Heenan and Tenay became very good friends too. Their wives liked each other. They would go out to dinner and things like that. So it was this kind of tight-knit circle. And then Shavani was a guy who was like off doing his own thing, and he had his own other circle of friends like Arn, and he had his family. He had like 5 kids growing up, so they just weren't close. And Shivani's regretted. And then that made it even bigger for Shivani as far as like the venom because of what happened to Bobby Heenan. Not only is Bobby Heenan this beloved guy, the greatest manager of all time. Look, nobody on the show. My podcast thing is called Project Humanoid for a reason.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to have more praise for Bobby Heenan than me. But hey, that was the thing. He was a sacred cow, and then his health failed, and he was a sympathetic figure. And if he didn't like Tony Schiavone, that was going to make people not like Tony Schiavone because of that. And here's the thing. Bobby Heenan wasn't perfect. He was showing up drunk to show.
Yeah, at the end of Nitro, or at the end of his run, it wasn't good on his end.
Yeah.
He was kind of funny.
He did say they got to talk.
Oh, that's
at a like a fan fest or something.
Yeah, Heenan, even when he couldn't talk anymore, it was just him and his wife, and he would just write stuff on paper. He would do a lot of like those cons. Yeah.
And he would him and Tony did speak before he got really sick. Like, it was at the beginning of him getting sick, and then Tony said, "I'll reach out." And Tony's like, "I'm an asshole. I didn't." But he goes, "I feel like before Bobby left, I feel like we buried that hatchet, and that was important to him."
They did a video game together, but I think they did it at separate recordings.
Yeah.
There was that one. It was an awful.
I think
that Legends of Wrestling show.
And I think that they met at the fan fest promoting that game.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay, that would have been like
It sounds great on paper, but the game sucks.
Yeah,
there's 2 of them, I think.
There was 1
3.
and 2.
Yeah,
there were 3.
This was the third one. Was the worst one of all.
Oh,
the other ones weren't awful. They were not great.
It was a good idea. Let's take everyone who's not signed, put them in a game, and have all these fancy matchups.
And they were really
wonderful.
cool rosters too.
Yeah, Sabu and RVD were one.
Andy Kaufman was in one.
Yeah, like Terry Funk, Dory Funk.
Brett was in.
Yeah, Bruno. But then the bell had the ring, like Bruce Pritchard says, and the game was not fun.
Not a good game.
You had to have like incredible timing on that.
Yeah,
it played a lot. It was Acclaim did it. So it was a lot like it was the Acclaim engine. I think after Acclaim went belly up.
Raw.
The original Raw games, the ECW games.
Yeah.
Not great.
Attitude. That was
Attitude was awful.
And then so around this time is when WCW closes too, and right after that happens in 2001, there were a lot of things that like rushed in to kind of fill the void with WCW. And I guess Impact did, or TNA at the time did the most of anything. But one of the first things that really tried that, just a few months after WCW closed, a few investors get together with Jimmy Hart and Greg Valentine and Brian Knobs, and they want to do this thing called the XWF. And basically they did a pilot. They did a weekend taping it was actually the Impact Zone in Universal Studios. It's the same thing where they did Impact. That Impact Zone was part of the old Nickelodeon studios. I think for a while it was where they did Guts, and the other one was they did stuff like Blue Man Group. So if you ever watched Nickelodeon Guts, that was the Impact Zone for a while.
Wow.
So it was the XWF, and you had like Hulk Hogan, Kurt Hennig was part of it, the Road Warriors.
Jeff Jarrett.
I think so. Jeff Jarrett was with all of those.
Yeah.
He did the one in Australia.
Not a terrible
WWA.
roster.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
Public
bad.
Enemy was there. You had younger guys too, some more agile guys. And your announcers, Tony Schiavone was your lead play-by-play guy. And this is an interesting team because this was during the half a year where he was fired. Jerry Lawler was the color guy. So it was Tony Schiavone and Jerry Lawler.
That is interesting.
Because that was when he quit after they fired his girl, and then Paul Heyman.
Cat.
Yeah, Paul Heyman was the announcer for Raw for a while.
This is Buddha Lady.
Yeah, she's directly in between us.
And that thing get picked up. Unfortunately, that didn't get off the ground, and so they only ever did that one XWF tape, and they put it out on DVD. You can find a few episodes on YouTube now. And then the only other thing he really did was in 2003, he did show up in TNA for 2 episodes. He had a goatee, he had a Kiss t-shirt, a Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian shirt, and he was a heel.
Yeah.
He hated it.
Yeah, and I was like, the line that I remember most is like, I know a guy that's sitting at home that's way better than you are, and his name's Scott Hudson. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
After WCW, he pretty much said he quit cold turkey. He stopped watching. He stopped doing everything.
Yeah.
He said the only time he ever tuned in.
By the way, do you know what Scott Hudson's day job was?
No.
He was may still be a parole officer.
Really?
He was a PO.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I always liked Scott Hudson. I thought
He
he
was
was
a good
pretty
announcer.
good. Yeah.
He said the only time that he turned on Raw for anything is when he was told that WCW got bought and Bischoff is going to show up on Raw.
Yeah.
And he said, I turned in, and he was just like, I hate this. Because he wasn't cool with Bischoff at the time. He
didn't watch Booker T and Buff Bagwell in Tacoma.
Oh,
With Scott Hudson and Arn as your announcer.
yeah. I wish I didn't.
he pretty much was like, because he goes, I just remembered the locker room speech where he said, I'm not gonna rest until I kill this company and I hate this company, and then he's shaking.
Tuesdays aren't fun anymore.
Yeah.
From
Well, I
one
know we're gonna
son of a
win.
bitch to another.
Yeah. And he's like, I seen it and I was like, I'm out of here. But yeah.
So he does leave wrestling behind for well over a decade. Went back to radio. He was doing morning radio. He was on 2 different stations, one in Atlanta, one in Gainesville. He did AAA baseball. He went back to baseball for the Gwinnett Braves. He did a post-game show for Georgia Bulldogs football. I actually know somebody. I have a friend that through wrestling websites that was like, I don't know if he was interning or he had a friend who interned. I don't know if it was like a first-hand or second-hand story. Said Shivani could not have been a nicer guy.
Yeah.
Treated everybody in that building like they were a friend. Like, you could be an intern, you could be the CEO, you could be the
He doesn't
boss.
take himself very seriously either.
Right.
Like, and not in the aspect that he doesn't value himself,
Yeah.
but he like when people are like, "You're the greatest announcer," he's like, "No, I'm definitely not." Like he's like,
that's
Humble.
yeah,
like there's only 3 people in running for that. There's only 3 people. It's either Jim Ross, Lance Russell, or Gordon Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he knows that. It's like it's one of those things where I said I always unabashedly say Heenan was the greatest manager of all time because there's only really 2 guys I think you can make an argument for besides him,
Yeah. Cornette.
Cornette and Jimmy Hart, and
Yeah.
they'll both tell you it was Bobby Heenan.
yeah.
And that's why I always say that. But yeah, so Shivani, humble guy, and I mean, you have these people that had like bad things to say about him with WCW, but it was a bad working hours. And if you're miserable at work, you're going to be miserable at other people.
Mhm.
So that can happen, and you give the guy a benefit of the doubt with that. And so he's doing that, and then in 2015 he gets some kind of infamy on the internet. And I hate when wrestling fans or anybody does this.
Yeah.
People started dunking on him and ragging on him in 2015 because there were cutbacks. He lost his radio gig or one of his radio gigs. And it comes out that Tony Schiavone is working at Starbucks. And he is like, yeah, I needed money. They had good health insurance. I have kids. I worked at Starbucks. I'm not ashamed of it.
And he said he loved working at Starbucks.
It was a great company.
Yeah.
But no, like they'll bury, like people would always give Shane Douglas crap
Yeah,
for working
'cause-
at Target.
Yeah.
Well, the
Gotta pay the bills.
guy got a job. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not wrestling more. He's got to do something.
Yeah. And then with Justin Credible worked at Olive Garden or something.
Yeah, I think he
Shit.
might have worked at Target.
And you
too.
have to realize too, like I'm not saying Tony Schiavone wasn't smart with his money, but he has a family of 5 and everything like this. And some of these guys, and he wasn't a worker. So now you think of a guy like Shane Douglas, who probably had a drug and alcohol problem, who probably can't get an actual job here or there because his body's so beat up. So Target's probably easiest
There's,
thing on his
you know,
body to do.
limit what you can get. Not
Yeah.
everyone knows everybody. You gotta get.
I
some
think he wanted to
income.
get back into teaching too.
Yeah.
At some one point, Shane Douglas. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Mhm.
And he was like, it was a part-time thing, and it was benefits too. Like a lot of people would do UPS for that. It was like this thing. Yeah, it's not a full-time job, but they have a great benefits package.
Yeah.
But yeah, and from there, where it really kind of rounds in the form is 2017 when Tony gets a call from Conrad Thompson, who Conrad, his first podcast, it didn't last long, was with Ric Flair.
Yeah.
It was on CBS.
You can't even find the old episodes.
No, yeah, because first it was what the Ric Flair show, and then it became Woo Nation, or it might be vice versa.
Mhm.
And then it stopped and then started, and then Ric Flair didn't want to do it again. So that's when Conrad broke.
Yeah, but you can't even like find like if you look at RSS feeds, you can't even.
Yeah,
find,
they were taking.
You
down.
can't find. Oh, it sucks, man. Because I'd like.
There
to
were some good ones.
stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then Conrad moves on to Bruce Pritchard, and that show really takes off. And then he's branching out, and the first guy he branches out to after that Something to Wrestle With show is Tony Schiavone. And so Tony gets kind of dragged back in.
Well, didn't you think? Didn't Conrad like maybe this guy could use some help? He is working at a Starbucks. Like, he has great stories. Everyone liked working with him.
I think Conrad may have known Arn.
And he knew Flair.
And he knew Flair, and they were close with Shivani. I think there were some people that Shivani may have kind of kept in touch with, and Pritchard was friendly with Shivani too, to a degree. I'm sure they've gone over how they got kind of connected, but yeah, I'm sure it helped. Like I know, like Shivani would always say for a while, like, yeah, I'm just doing this to pay for my daughter's wedding, and then I'm done.
Yeah,
and he kept going.
Yeah, well, Conrad. Let's just give him a little love here.
He is the like shadow emperor of professional
the Podfather.
Yeah, the Podfather, man. Like, this whole podcast thing. I know, like sometimes, like I'll say, like, oh, I do a podcast. You're like, oh yeah, you and every other dude on the planet does podcast. But like, I enjoy doing these. I enjoy sitting down with friends. It's a great reason to sit here and learn about old stuff, debating what the topic is. But I enjoy doing it. And if we can get to the point where we're making it as a living or a job, that's even cooler. But like, podcasting has changed a lot of people's lives and has done some cool things. So just going back, Bruce Pritchard out of wrestling, Conrad gets a hold of him, does an amazing podcast, does a great job hosting and pulling these stories out, but also keeping him at balance too by calling him on his bullshits when he has to. But
there's a lot of it.
And Bruce gets a job back with WWE.
Yeah,
like he got his job back. Tony Schiavone starts his podcast. I'm only doing it to pay my daughter's wedding. And once Conrad hit him with the numbers, like, I can get you this money. His daughter's like, all right, I'll hold off my wedding. Go do what you gotta do. And he paid for his daughter's wedding. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna keep this going. And then
it's like, hey, I want you to meet Tony Khan.
Yeah, go meet this Tony Khan guy.
Even before that, he did MLW for a few.
Yeah.
things. So did Pritchard. Pritchard was backstage with them, and Pritchard got a gig with Impact for a few shows.
Yeah.
And then that kind of snowballed, and then AW comes along, and yeah, lo and behold, now Tony Schiavone is back on TNT. Back on TNT.
Yeah, he's not on it, what, 17 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Turner, just TBS TNT.
Yeah, it's a cool story, man.
And he'll say he never thought he'd be back in wrestling.
Yeah.
And now he's beloved and
so I did not
it's
know.
a great second act. It's such an amazing second
and it's not even
and
done
he's so
yet.
happy to be there.
And it's not even close to done yet.
No.
You know, and
it's not like he's doing physical stuff. He can talk forever.
Yeah. I was not like, he wasn't the voice of my childhood.
Yeah.
Jim Ross is the voice of my childhood.
Monsoon would be more than Shivani for me, but Shivani's up.
Oh, I definitely had Monsoon as well.
Monsoon
and I loved
and
Monsoon and Heaton together, but
Jesse and Body.
But I remember, Jesse's big
For
there
me,
too. But
and then,
for me,
Bob
the Attitude
Hayes.
Era just sticks out the most because it was my
right
where your mind can retain more. So I didn't really know much of Shivani. So then AEW comes, and I'm like, oh, that was the guy who was the commentary at WCW. Like, oh, they're just doing the nostalgia thing. Like, I didn't hate the guy, but I didn't know much about him. And then just doing this podcast, and then hearing him on AEW, and then I fell in love with. I don't want to say this in a weird, creepy way, but like I became a fan of Aubrey, the referee. And they're like, oh, she does a podcast, AEW Unrestricted, and she interviews people. I was like, oh, well, I want to see how her interview skills are. So then I find out it's her and Tony Schiavone doing the podcast. And then I'm like, these guys are great together. They're funny together. Their chemistry's amazing. And then I started listening to the Conrad podcast.
What happened when? We didn't get to say the name.
Yeah, what happened when?
Happened when?
Which I came into later because I didn't really listen. I was like, I'm not listening to Tony Schiavone one. I'm just going to listen to Bruce Pritchard one because I like the way that one's structured. And then I went back and listened to the Schiavone ones. I'm like, oh, these are fantastic too. But the more I consumed Tony Schiavone information and hearing his voice and hearing his stories and his humor, and he's funny and he's entertaining.
Yeah.
I was hooked. I'm like, this dude is awesome. Like, he's one of the people that the more you learn, the more you consume about, you fall in love with him.
Yeah.
Like, you fall in love with him. And the fact that he went from ranked the worst person. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine if like right now they came out with a list and they're like, Tornado Tag Podcast is the worst podcast in the world. Like that would, even if you're only doing this for fun,
Yeah, you'd be like, oh.
it'd be like, fuck, man, I'm
Something
the
stop,
worst
yeah.
in the world at what I do.
And I think he won best last year, right?
Yeah, he went from
I
Or the year
don't know.
before, when he came back, or best comeback, something. He won.
Yeah.
something.
But now, like, you're at the lowest of lows. You went from, packed arenas and calling some of the most iconic things, and everyone coming up to you saying, you're the thing of my childhood. And the big thing that happened recently with wrestling is nostalgia. Nostalgia is coming back harder than ever. And I think AEW is a big tribute to that, because I think a lot of these people see these storylines like that, and then like they bring their parent in. They're like, oh, look at this storyline. They're like, that was this old storyline with Dusty. And they're like, well, that's Dusty's kid. And he's like, oh, like,
Look at the people they brought back, not just Shivani, Tully, Arn.
yeah. And then obviously, the Sting moment where it's Sting. We got like, they're scratching that nostalgia. And he even says himself, he goes, I didn't realize how many people actually still gave a shit about me.
Yeah.
And as a guy who, that as a human, that to hear that probably fucking feels amazing.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I was ranked the worst and people hated me and people thought I thought I went on this.
He was a pariah. Yeah, he was completely a pariah.
My first ever experience in professional wrestling is me going to Ric Flair's house and talking to him. And then the end is me as the worst commentator of all time. And I hate the business and I hate everything I love about it. And now he's back and he's like, I refound my love. You know what I mean? Like it's a cool, except the second half is amazing. And it's
an
still
excellent redemption song.
It's still being told. And you can see it every Wednesday night, the interactions with how we're talking about notes coming to him.
Yeah.
Him and Britt Baker are
Him
hilarious.
and Britt Baker, their chemistry is
that's
through
just
off the charts.
Yeah.
Like no, for lack of a better term, couple that they made this. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like sometimes in wrestling, just two people you don't think. It's like, oh, keep going with it.
Mhm.
They asked him on the podcast his favorite moment. And he said, my favorite moment is when we did Madison Square Garden. And I was there when Hogan and Big Boss Man were in the cage.
Yeah.
And he goes, then we left that night, went Boston Garden Arena, and I did the next night in that arena. He goes, that's my two favorite moments just because of the atmosphere I was in. And then they asked him his favorite AEW match so far. And he said it was the Bucks versus Hangman and Adam Page.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the tag.
Yeah.
The tag match. It was
Revolution.
He said it was amazing. But yeah.
I love Tope Suicida.
Yeah. Dude's a monster. I cannot wait for this comic book. It's supposed to be coming in November.
To get it.
November, I guess they're saying it's
read
going to start shipping out. We'll start with you, Brian. What is your favorite Shivani moment?
I don't know if that was like an individual moment.
Or what are some that stick out to you?
I'm trying to think. I love the podcast. Just seeing the guy behind this voice that I heard forever, because you didn't really get that Tony Schiavone. The only time he got like a Tony Schiavone letting his hair down, and it's awful, and he's made fun of it. This one open the Halloween Havoc where these kids are coming to his house like a vampire. But really, it was the first episodes of those podcasts. Like, really, Tony Schiavone's back? He hates wrestling. What's he doing here? And it was just seeing him kind of, because he was always this straight laced. He came from sports. He came from baseball. He called wrestling like a baseball announcer, and that's a good thing. He was a good voice for the product. And then just my favorite thing with Tony Schiavone is the second act, because it's like this guy who's like, oh man, I miss Tony Schiavone. And then he's back, and you get to see like kind of what he's like, and it's just this fun guy. Like,
yeah,
he's a little foul mouth. He's a little bit of a pervert.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
Well, that's kind of
like your grandfather going, "Oh, look at her."
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of the podcast world too, because people are like, I'm not listening to an hour and a half of people talk.
Yeah,
but you really don't get an idea of somebody. Like if your favorite celebrity is such and such, or this person wrestling, and you go and watch them on a 3-minute interview, they're just hitting bullet points.
Yeah,
they're cutting a promo on you. They're showing you on camera who they are. But if you sit down and have a conversation with somebody for an hour, you're slowly going to slip into your own personality, and you're going to learn about that person.
And you're going to like them or you're not.
Yeah, that's why if when I listen to podcasts, if I'm not learning something, or if I'm not hearing an actual heart-to-heart interview or conversation,
or you think, well, this person isn't interesting at all.
Yeah,
that happens sometimes. Like, well, I don't know.
Yes, it can be double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But Shivani just kind of sitting down and letting his hair loose for an hour and just talking and getting back to those old memories and stories. It was like
buttoning that fur coat.
Yeah, he was just
I'd like to tussle with her.
Yeah, it was just funny. There's nothing funnier than when you're listening to AEW Unrestricted with him and Aubrey, and they do the ad reads.
Yeah,
and it's like Tony Schiavone talking to Audrey about shaving his balls with man groomer. or erectile dysfunction pills,
Yeah,
or
that's funny.
get hard pills.
Blue
and
Well,
Chew?
yeah, Blue Chew. That
Yeah,
was always
the Blue
played on the
Chew.
Conrad shows too.
and he's just like he's reading dick pill
Yeah.
things with a female referee, and
One of the
she's
funniest-
she's just fat mouth as he is.
Yeah,
She's a sailor.
that's good.
I want to have a beer with her in the worst way.
One of the funniest things back in the day, and I just watched this earlier this year, getting ready for the Royal Rumble. Back in the day, before the Royal Rumble, they would always have like 15 little 20-second interviews with like half the guys in the match. And when Conrad and Shavani do these things, they'll like talk over the interviews and
Yeah,
try to be
it's great.
funny. One of them was, I don't know if it was the 90 Rumble or the 91 Rumble. I think it was one of the ones Hogan won, 89 maybe. It is Shivani just being as foul-mouthed as possible. Him and Conrad just doing the funniest voiceovers for these Royal Rumble interviews. And they're just rapid fire. And it's just him going off the cuff, and it's so funny.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And he's
We're-
so quick.
we gotta start. We have to do some watch alongs. I just gotta figure out how we would do it because sometimes the audio doesn't come through my board, so I have to figure out how to do that.
We hear it, but they don't.
Yeah,
That's
so
how we can get around it.
so what I would do is because I think you're allowed to play the audio of it.
Start with 20 seconds. Yeah, you might be able to, but for a limit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even try that because you want people to have it on, or people would usually
Yeah.
have it on like maybe
like that
lower.
one contract. So let's track it and they'll play like part of the promo. you
Yeah.
know?
What would it probably take is if you get like a headphone splitter and then just put it on like a like
We
a-
probably wouldn't be able to do those live. Like I'd
yeah,
probably,
no, that would be a tape thing.
yeah, we'd have to tape and do like because I want to do watch alongs, but not just old wrestling like old wrestling reviews, but I
That-
want to do it like current stuff. Like
That would be fun for Patreon.
yeah,
That'd be very
that
fun
would
for
be our Patreon thing. Well, things may be changing soon. We're not going to wrap up yet, but things may be changing soon. We'll get into when we get close to the end of the episode. But yeah, any other moments, Shivani, with the
I'm trying to think of stuff as an announcer. Like
My favorite is when Hogan joins the NWO and he goes, Hogan, you can go straight. to hell."
yes, you can
At
go
the end
straight
of the
to-
pay per view.
yeah, I'm not a
Like,
I respect Sting, but Sting doesn't do it for me like Sting does it for everybody else.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of like Bret Hart. I respect everything they did in their career, and they are the top of the heap. They're amazing, amazing talents. I just didn't. I was never sold. I was never a Hulkamaniac. I was never sold on that. Like it's just not the type of character I was into. But Sting coming back wouldn't have been as good. I don't think if Tony Schiavone was there.
well, probably not.
That call they
Yeah.
hit.
It's the
Yeah, it made it feel like that. Like like I said, nostalgia is big, and AEW is doing a good job scratching that itch.
That's the thing. It was the first episode of Dynamite. Like Tony Schiavone is on TNT
yeah,
calling wrestling. I'm like, I'm 15 again.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. And wasn't Jericho the first thing we seen? Who was the first person we seen on?
I don't remember.
I forget.
I know the
Bucks,
first
Cody.
I know
You
the
know what's
first
crazy?
match
We
was-
could like right now WCW first match ever.
Well, I-
Liger.
Well, I know the first match.
Yeah.
but,
Liger versus Brian Pillman.
I can't think of the AEW's first match.
it was Sammy Guevara and Kip Sabian.
Oh,
Was
yeah, that's
it?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There
Sammy
you go.
Guevara came out with the panda head.
The Panda Head. Yeah. Man, imagine that. Remember that? We were like, who is this
Yeah, who's this
clown?
jerk off?
And now we're like, we fucking love Sammy.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. AEW does, regardless of what, like I said, I didn't want to fall in that trap this time around when two companies were rivaling each other where I picked a side and I didn't watch the other. And I'm glad I didn't.
There's no need to.
Because both companies are doing fun stuff.
You don't gain anything from doing
Nope.
And they're both so good. NXT is so good too.
Yeah.
Kushida.
I'm so
and,
happy they're on different nights so I don't have to choose.
that. Yeah, no. I've really fallen off NXT.
Kushida and Oni Lorcan from this week is definitely worth
Right.
watching. And Kushida and Santos Escobar from the week before.
A
is
little
definitely-
Kyle O'Reilly throwing a little Orange Cassidy
Yeah.
vibes out.
Well, he's figuring out. It's
Yeah, he's
not right there right now. He's getting there.
I think he's
Fun.
gonna win the title. I think he's beating Cross.
I hope so. but-
Cross should be on the main roster.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Cross is definitely a WWE guy.
Kyle had a very fun match too with Cameron Grimes.
Fucking guy's a super.
I keep wanting to say Trevor Lee.
Yeah,
yeah.
Trevor Lee.
He's grown on me. Cameron Grimes is grown.
I've always liked Cameron Grimes. I was the one I was like, I like him.
ever since it started doing this, where he's like doing Bitcoin and
Yeah.
NFTs and Doge to the moon and all that stuff.
the indie
And Ted DiBiase keeps taking all of his stuff, like
Yeah.
outbidding him for things.
the Indy Hartwell and the what's it, Dexter Loomis thing is
Dexter
funny.
Lewis.
Or
Indy,
like
Indy Hartwell has grown on me too.
Right.
She's
she's in love with him and they're like
Oh,
trying to
God.
they're trying to be a couple and
Until he
Gargano
kills her.
and Gargano's like is her dad like you leave her alone, you leave her alone.
She did a thing a few weeks ago where she pretended to be knocked out so he would carry her to the back. And then she does the thing that Sherry did at SummerSlam at one time where Shawn Michaels is carrying her to the back and she looks at the camera and like winks and
Yeah.
gives the thumbs up. It's great.
It is funny. They're doing AEW is getting a little goofier, which is like, but it's getting goofy in a good way. But when they need to turn it on, put a match on. they do
Sometimes
it.
the goofy ain't good.
They're doing a good job at it. I think they are.
Some stuff is good and some stuff isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes Brizango as the Buckingham Palace guards didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, it didn't do it for me either.
Like, you don't... Fandango, I don't know about Tyler Breeze. Fandango is funny. He's a funny guy. You don't have to have him get laughs by dressing in a funny costume.
Yeah. He's hilarious. That punk show they did with him was hilarious. He was good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll say that for Patreon. But anything else with Shivani that jumps off the page at you?
Nothing really. I mean, his podcast. That's why
Yeah.
I listened to it from day one. I was like, well, let's check out that. And first he was just trying to remember things like
Yeah, it was
and it didn't work out because he's like, you don't remember shit, Tony.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. It was ask the booking committee or whatever he said.
Yeah, the thing with him as an announcer is he was a straight man.
Yeah.
And one thing I will give him credit for, before Heenan came over, the big get for them for a few years, from like 92 to 94, the main color commentator for WCW was Jesse Ventura. And I always thought that Shivani and Ventura had way more chemistry than Ross and Ventura. Jim Ross is a great announcer. Like, honestly, I think Jim Ross is a better announcer than Tony Schiavone. At least, I think Tony's better now because he cares.
Yeah.
And Jim Ross doesn't really care anymore, I don't think. He's just not
Or he
quite
struggles.
No, he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
It's not caring is unfair.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. He's doing his thing. He has in his mind
how about-
what he should be doing.
Let's just real quick too, like just give credit where credit is due with Excalibur. Excalibur's sitting in between the two most iconic people of all time, and he's he's doing a great job.
Oh no, yeah. I
Yeah.
like A-Dub's announcing. A-Dub's announcing is
Mhm.
very good. And I think Shivani is excellent in this role.
I think where
I think
Shivani
it's
really
busy.
shined.
I think it's busy when they put like Taz in there too. I think you should never have more than 3 people in
Yeah.
there.
That's I always think this too.
Yeah.
Two's fine.
I
Two's
think
fine. I'm fine with 3.
I think the fourth can be depending who's there. Like when Jericho's there, I'll take it all the time. But I think that's
Usually when Jericho's there, though, they don't put Shivani in.
yeah. But Shivani and Jericho killed it during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, and you had those few weeks where
Mhm.
where Excalibur was like canceled.
Yeah.
He was
But I think that was a moment too where people were like fell in love with Shivani on a whole new level was when him and Jericho were going back and forth.
Yeah.
And they had those couple weeks where it was all taped.
Mhm.
And they said Shivani recorded for like 13 hours one day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because he loves it now.
Yeah. And and they're like, anything you need, like they treat
Yeah.
him good. He loves being there. He said, it's Khan is great to work with.
Mhm.
You know,
No
being
one
with
says
Cody
anything bad
again
about Cody.
is awesome. But yeah, man, it's exciting.
It is.
The dude's a good dude. I cannot wait for the Kickstarter. I got the Give Me It All package.
Oh yeah, the hardcover, the softcover, and the T-shirt, and
Yeah.
you get art print, and then all the bonus stuff.
Yeah.
What do they call that when you
when
when it reaches a certain goal, you get these free gimmicks? Whatever.
Yeah. I'm pumped.
Add-ons.
Stretch
No.
goals, I think
Yeah,
it's
stretch
called.
goals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stretch goals. Yeah. If you're not someone who uses Kickstarter, make an account. There's some fun stuff.
There's
on
a lot. There's something for everybody on there.
Yeah.
I bought
Just search
I
wrestling.
buy comic books. There's video games. I bought a cat watering bowl thing that
There-
feeds itself water.
There are a few things I kicked myself for not kickstarting. Video games mainly.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which one?
Shadowrun Returns. I'm a big fan of Shadowrun.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mutant Football League.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Oh, they had a Kickstarter for that.
Yeah.
I missed the collector's edition of Bloodstain because I was like,
I
I got the game
kickstarted.
when it did come out 3 years later. It was awesome.
I kickstarted the Friday the 13th game
Oh.
way before it came out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That game has had some troubles.
That game would have been amazing if they would have been able to finish it.
Apparently, the licensing.
Yeah.
and
They were pretty much like,
hold
go ahead
it
and
up.
make it. And then
Yeah.
they made it like, if you add so much as just a blade of grass to that gun, we'll sue you.
Yeah.
Like they're not allowed to work on it.
Yeah. It's
So it-
awful. So it's basically like, yeah, you can work out, but you really can't do anything, so you can't.
They had issues with the servers. They couldn't get servers to work. So I remember like the only way you can play is if like on Xbox you made like looking for a group and then
Mhm.
everyone joined like a party and then we all joined the game and then we played that way.
Oh boy,
Right.
a hassle.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It made the game because then when we logged on, we're like, oh, the 6 people we played last night are on. Let's do it
Yeah.
again.
But I mean, that's
So we worked around.
yeah.
The
But it's not just like
matchmaking.
Halo. Like I'm just gonna join and
Yeah,
here's
right.
10 people.
And then what some of the game it had glitches and bugs. And then when they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna patch all this stuff and make it a really cool game, and we're gonna add more content. That's when the hammer hit. We're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we're not allowed to now. And it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of good memories in that game, like funny moments.
No, I never played it.
So
I don't really like the source materials.
when you play that game, when you're in a party chat, we used to always turn the party chat off and go back to game chat. Because when you played a game chat, it was proximity. So your character can only hear my character
okay.
as if we're close to each other.
Yeah.
And then, like you be in the distance, like, oh my God, you're like, I hear someone screaming over there. But the only other way you can communicate with each other if you're not proximity is if you found the walkie-talkie.
That's
So
a cool little.
If you found a walkie-talkie,
Yeah.
you can all talk now and you work against Jason.
Okay.
So I have a walkie-talkie. I'm talking to people, and I'm running, and all of a sudden Jason's behind me. He teleports behind me, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So I'm like, Jason's chasing me. Now at the time, I don't even think I had a walkie-talkie, or I think I did. I don't remember how it worked, but I was like, Jason's on me. I'm gonna keep running. I think he's too far away. He can't hear me. But you guys start the boat and get out of here. Just go, go, go. He's chasing me. And I'm like, F you, Jason, F you. So this Jason's chasing me. And then he hears me say that they're fixing the boat and they're gonna escape on the boat. But there's not even a boat on the map in this game. But he doesn't like sometimes they'll remove the boat and you can only get out by cops or if you survive the night. So he teleports away from me and goes to the boat because like the timer's running out and we're just about to like finish the game.
Running the clock out of this.
And I'm just running the clock. So the game ends with him trying to come back and find me, and I just make it to the cops. And he gets on the mic and goes, dude, you fucking got me. He goes, because Jason can teleport only twice a game or something like that. So he used his teleport to go across the map to stop a group of people just instead of killing the one. And when I teleported, everyone got out of the game because it wasn't even there. And like everyone's laughing like, he got him so good. But it was a fun game. That's completely off wrestling topic. I apologize. But yeah. And
you had Chucky was in WCW when Shivani was there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
RoboCop. That's
RoboCop.
not hard, but yeah.
Wasn't the Crypt Keeper there at one time?
Was he? I don't remember
a Yeti.
The Yeti.
The Yeti.
There's another Tony Schiavone.
I hope the Yeti shows up in WCW or AEW just so they can say the Yeti is returned.
We might get Captain Encino. Captain
Hey,
Encino.
I don't.
He bought the rights to it, and Big Show said I will 100% do it.
But Big Show hasn't even been on Dynamite yet.
No,
has he? Is that what the first time? Was he on Dynamite or just
He's just gonna come back as Captain Encino.
Yeah, maybe.
Some girl's hair.
By the way, while we're talking about AEW, we have to throw out some congratulations to the main event.
Yes,
Four matches.
Four matches.
Matches.
And one they should have won under Lucha rules. They would have won that first match against FTR.
Yes,
it is a DQ if you take your opponent's mask off.
Yeah, I messaged Midas. I said, "Hey man, I love you to death. I'm proud of you. You guys killed it. I'm not gonna lie, I was not happy with the way it went down the first night. As a fan of you guys, felt like they a little disrespected. Felt like they were a little disrespected. And of course, he had nothing bad to say.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, "Hey, man, we're." And I said, "Listen, I know you're in there against FTR. They're the top team in the league. You're gonna get squashed. It is what it is."
Yeah.
Didn't have to pull the mask off. I don't know if it was an accident. Or
It
not.
seemed like it. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It seemed.
And I didn't like the way commentary played them off, like as a joke, like, "Oh, these guys are fucking bums." But like, you won't put over a line and an entertainer, but you're cool with a dinosaur and a jungle guy.
I think they did have some fun, and they really got to shine in that Luchasaurus or Jurassic Express match. They got to do some fun stuff with SCU.
Yeah.
And then how cool is it that and I know this is a big thing for them. The 6-man tag against Dark Order, they were teamed with Ken Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken Broadway was Matt Travis's tag team partner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Matt Travis, another House of Glory guy, was the guy that unfortunately passed in late 2019.
Yeah, he. I'm not giving anything away, but he did say nothing but positive reception from the locker room. Everyone, they made a good name. They did. Listen, they're the type of guys you put them in the locker. They're going to be. You're going to remember them. They're awesome dudes. 4 matches in AEW is awesome.
Not that I've dealt with them a lot, but anytime we've been around them, like I've been around people I've genuinely rooting for, was genuinely happy to see on that show.
Yeah. We got to see a lot of cool people from like the PPW area. Casey Navarro has made an appearance there. Rembrandt has made an appearance there.
That's right.
Leroy,
Big Game Leroy was there, and the main event. And we got who's the canceled dude? I hate to say it like that, but Clutch got to make it.
He's canceled it. Don't say it.
I'm not sure how I feel about his cancellation though. I don't know.
We covered that ground.
Yeah, well, we walked that path already. But anyway, it is cool to see your friends do cool things.
No offense to any of those guys. The happiest I was to see main event on that.
Absolutely, yeah. I love Casey. Rembrandt, I got really close to her towards the end of PPW there before we left because I got to interact with him some stuff.
Oh, he did a great interview.
Yeah,
that last time we were at PPW, he did. It was so much fun.
And the first time we ever went to a PPW show together is the first time you've seen them. And that's something they actually brought up to me like in private, where they're like, "You were one of the first people like on a platform that we got to listen to that really put us over. Like you guys were team main event as long as we like you were in our corner at PPW.
And as long as those guys are in a ring, I'll be rooting for them.
And there's good humans. They're just good humans. They're awesome in the ring. They're fun, and I'm really, really happy they got their matches. If you want to go support them, head over to Pro Wrestling Tees. They have 3 T-shirts available. They have a Circus World where it looks like a Juice World shirt. It looks really cool.
Like Looney Tunes.
The Looney Tunes one where it's Jay Lion inside the Looney Tunes logo, and then it's their cartoon character.
Cool.
And I love the new gear too. The
white,
yeah, the mainly white one. That's
white.
awesome.
That's some sharp gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I like that a lot. Super happy for them. I'm not gonna lie. When I first seen it, when I woke up and you guys put it in our group chat, and I was like, "Wait, what? The FTR?" Like I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Good for them."
And just taking the spike pile driver like a champ too.
Yeah,
getting spiked.
Well, how does it feel from your end as someone who's in the business with them? Like when you see people do stuff.
Well, with certain people, I like it.
Yeah,
some other people, I'm like, but them, I liked it, so I'm happy for them.
Yeah,
it's great for them.
You still jockeying for that tag match with them soon? Trying to get that? No.
No.
I'm also happy they finally got to do main event against main event.
Yeah, which is that.
Pizza party.
Yeah,
IWTV. You can watch that match. Yeah. I think they did it twice. They did it there, and they're doing it somewhere else.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
main event versus main event.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the other main event.
They're cool.
So I kind of don't get the name. Like with the main event, we know I get the name.
Yeah, Lions Main. It makes a lot of sense.
But with them guys, I don't. Maybe one of them was like
has good hair.
Brian Main.
I think the one dude. I think his logo is he's also a lion because he has a long dreads.
Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm just not familiar with them. But that's cool that they got to have a main event versus main event. Let's go main event. Like,
and they were the main event of the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's incredible. I didn't know that they were the main event.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The funny thing is the reason this whole thing has been talked about forever is because every single time a promotion,
they tagged the wrong one.
They would tag the wrong main event.
Can you imagine?
And it's funny because one of the reasons why main event got into PPW is Alex went to a show and seen the other main event
and said you should book the main event.
And said you should book the main event. And then Paul Bowe seen that main event at another show.
That's awesome.
So they went back and told Tony. And because that main event, so they were, one person was telling them the other one main event, and Alex and Paul seen the House of Glory main event. So when they showed up, Alex was like, "You booked the wrong main event."
This is like when John Laurinaitis
got the wrong one-legged guy.
Wrong one-legged wrestler.
Yeah.
They wanted to get Zach Allen because he was on TNA a few times, and they hired a different wrestler that had one leg, and then they had to pay that guy for a while. Then they hired Zach Allen too.
Yeah. But it worked out.
It's awesome. I hope they get a contract. I hope at least they get used when AEW comes around because they're going to start touring again in July. JR said.
Yeah.
When they go to New York area, Philly.
I think they're. I've been saying for a while. I think they're a tag team that can fit into the culture of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nice arenas around here, by the way. AEW. Before everything shut down, the beginning of last
Reading
year,
would be awesome.
Reading. I went to see a Reading Royals hockey game. That arena would be perfect.
Yeah, that and the one in Wilkes-Barre.
Mohegan Sun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That one would be good for Dynamite.
Hershey.
I want to see AEW live. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
If the first time they're in this area, I'm going.
We're doing Philly, but that's a little bit of a hike.
Yeah.
I think that as things open up, yeah. As they get around, you know, as things open up.
I want to scream and sing Jericho's.
There you go.
Yeah, that has to happen. I get to see everyone, all the people I met at like Leapfrog and stuff in the crowd singing Jericho's music. I want to be there singing it.
But you have to pretend like you don't know. They're just fans.
Yeah.
Well, I won't know half of them because they wear masks.
Yeah.
Well, we got to see.
He'll know.
Yeah. Who's the recent one? When they went to commercial and came back, and Jericho had everyone hyped up. He goes, "Everyone's singing when we come back from commercial." Mm-hmm. In the crowd, Willow was in the crowd.
Oh, was she?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't notice.
I think it's like Jay Lyon on Mass. Like, what?
Yeah.
No, Jay Lyon. Well, he was on Mass on AEW, just not the way he wanted.
Yeah. That's like one time on Raw. There was this guy backstage, and he was just talking to Maven. This is like 2004 or something like that. And you're like, oh, okay, there's this like redheaded dude talking to Maven. Then you find out later that was Shark Boy.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
That's like that picture that got released where it's Joe walking around with the NXT championship and MJF's holding the door for him.
Yeah, and he pushes MJF out of the way. Brian, what do you got to plug?
ProjectHumanoid.com. That's where you can find all my stuff. Murder My Dude, of course. Pedantic will be the one coming out this weekend. We did change around the release schedule. Now it comes on midnight Sunday. So Saturday night, tomorrow night, into Sunday night, Pedantic episode 5 will be out. And then next week it is Murder My Dude. We're doing something I love, con artists.
Ooh.
And we're talking about Jefferson Randolph Soapy Smith, who was like the crime kingpin of Denver, a con artist of the highest order, and somebody who met an unfortunate end. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I like
con artist. I might be talking about wrestling a little bit there.
Yeah.
I think that might sneak into it.
There's a few out there.
Jesus.
Yeah, and if you want to check out Project Humanoid, is in our links below. If you click on our link for Tornado Tag, Project Humanoids it is on there, and it'll take you to all things Murder My Dude. What do you got to plug?
If you listen to this show and it's like, hey, I'm listening to this right now, and it's April 24th, it is my birthday, you can go to Broadheadsville, and I will be wrestling live at NTW. I believe it is called NTW. There's a couple of ones that go together. So that is at Broadheadsville. That is at 7 o'clock.
Who are you wrestling?
6 o'clock. It's me and Matt Turner. I think they announced the guys were wrestling, but Luca Mancini and somebody else. I forget this tag partner's name. There's no match graphic.
Okay.
That's why there's only a show graphic.
Okay.
That's why. So.
And that's this Saturday.
Yes, that is April 24th. And then one just got announced June 12th at the Riverside Beneficial Association, which is the building right behind where the Reading Phillies play, where WPW used to run years ago. I'll be wrestling there. And that is RCW. So that is June 12th at the Riverside Beneficial.
I think I saw that poster. Isn't a friend of the show, Johnny Moran?
Yeah, John Moran's on it too. Is that red poster? Have you seen that?
Did Johnny just win the Titan Championship, or he just wrestled for Titan recently?
I'm not sure.
I seen that picture where he has no beard and goofy hair. I thought it was from
His hair got longer. Yeah,
I thought it was from like 8 years ago.
He looks younger.
I'm like, yeah, he looks younger, and the hair is like outrageous.
Yeah, it's longer on top.
Yeah, it looks like all poofy, and I'm like, that's old. I'm like, oh wait, that's new.
The thicker Italian hair. Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
show's coming up.
I know he just had a match. I'm not sure if it was
again.
a title or anything.
So.
And one other thing we should definitely plug. Maybe you were going to get to this. I'm sorry if I cut you off there. Sunday. On IWTV, independentwrestling.tv. Frog Sport. Matt Mikowski's Frog Sport is this Sunday. I believe 8 p.m. on independentwrestling.tv.
It is a good time. We're gonna sponsored by the Bob Culture Podcast, Brotherly Love Podcast. No, yes, I always say it wrong.
It's Brotherly Love.
Brotherly Love Podcast.
It's not Brother Love.
There's somebody else there. I forget the other name of the sponsor. I'm terrible.
I don't know because I'm not in the know. You smartened me up before. Sponsored by Jimmy's Crab Shack. Jimmy's Crab Shack. Come on down for some good crab.
Come on
and
down.
Shack.
Hold on, I have it here.
Also,
the Bald Monkeys.
The Bald Monkeys. That's it. So it's Brotherly Love, Bob Culture, the Bald Monkeys, and us, Tornado Tag Podcast. We're sponsoring it, as well as High Tension Wrestling. So definitely check that out. The show is awesome. We are going to do a review or something of it.
Once it's
out and it's done, we'll probably maybe sneak something in next Saturday. We'll try to record something,
and we'll be live tweeting it.
Yeah, we'll be 100% live tweeting it. But also, if you want to check out someone who made their a little appearance at Leapfrog, a non-tournament match. Tomorrow we interview Devontae live on this network at 7 o'clock ish.
Devontae, who was in the very first match on the very first Camp Leapfrog.
Yes.
Oh wow, how about that?
Also a Super 8 competitor.
Against
Super 8.
Yeah, against another friend of the show, Deshaun Pratt.
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
It was Deshaun versus the very first Leapfrog. So come and hang out with us tomorrow. We're talking to Devontae. We're going to talk about our brotherly love for the Washington football team.
You let a team get in the playoffs, and this is the thanks you get, right?
Yes, Matt McCaskey's Frog Sport, hosted by Camp Leapfrogs IWTV. There you go. So yeah, hang out with us tomorrow. We're going to talk Devontae's. We were invited by Matt to come hang out for your birthday, but unfortunately I told him we already canceled on Devontae's once, and I didn't want to do it again to him.
Because the show might not be that great, I didn't want my name attached to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to make it your birthday batch. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh, they were going to do the whole thing as Andy had his birthday bash. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Might be working tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex hanging out with us in the chat right here at the end says, "Welcome back to the studio, Brian."
Hey, it's me.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. A lot of fun stuff this weekend. Like I said, follow us on social media if you want to live tweet with us, or use hashtag Camp Leapfrog or hashtag Leapfrog for on Twitter to watch along. I'm not sure if the code is active again.
Yeah, I don't know if they kept it off, but I know they took it off for Mania weekend. But yeah, you could try code Leapfrog. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't.
Try it out. Yeah.
If not, it's
only $10, right?
It's going to be well worth it, $9.99, and he gets so much more.
Yeah, there's all kinds.
You can look. Not only can you watch this Camp Leapfrog, you can go back and watch the back catalog, Camp Love Frog, things that go bump in the ring, Christmas trios. Immerse yourself in the world of Camp Leapfrog.
The reunion
weekend.
Show.
Yeah.
WrestleMania weekend.
Some of those I think are only on the Facebook page.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
But they might be on IWTV too. But yeah, it's well worth it.
Oh, actually,
there's a ton of wrestling.
So
IWTV, like not just leapfrog. I mean, wrestling from all over.
Yeah, the newest Pro Wrestling Illustrated is out.
Mhm.
We're going to talk more of this stuff when we do the Patreon episode. We're going to talk current wrestling, but I do want to give a huge love here to some local independents. So it says right on the cover, Spotlight of the Indies.
Oh,
And it's cool because the cover is Bianca Belair, who what a babe, right? But it says
When
wrestling.
I think indie wrestling, I think Bianca Belair.
yeah. I was gonna say.
Uh,
Oh yeah, how they
EST.
That's pretty.
It's
cool.
EST up there, and that's a special wrestle. What
Yeah.
an EST Mania issue. But the first thing on the thing when you see Spotlight of the Independents is the Iron Man match with Trish Adora and Tony Deppen,
Oh, okay.
making history beyond in wrestling. Where they went 2 hours in an intergender.
Actually, I think there was one from Fight Forever. I don't know if that was a Trish Adora one.
Wasn't it?
No, I think that might be a different one.
Oh, you're right. It was
Yeah.
because he did two. He did two in like 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, because he did one on Fight Forever where it was a draw after an hour. So instead of doing something death, they did a whole second hour in the Iron Man match.
Yeah. So this is the night before Fight Forever, and then Tony did it again the next night.
Yeah.
And I know Tony has Pilgaroo Brewing in Pottsville. They may be having some big wrestling news soon.
Yeah. They should be. I think they just got their tanks to start brewing.
Oh.
So they are getting closer and closer and closer to making some beer. So if you want to support Tony Deppen out of the ring, go check out Pilgaroo Brewing Company. They're having an investing thing right now where if you invest money, you get money back.
Yeah.
Type deal. But here it is here, GCW Fight Forever. So you got the Leo Rush and Brett Christian there. You got some people you may know from Camp Leapfrog. You have Matt Mikowski tearing Boomer's ankle off right there. You got FA who made his love frog up top here. Kaya McKenna, who just joined our table for a sticker.
Oh, cool.
When I ordered a T-shirt off of Kaya, she sent me a sticker as well.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So you can go to her merch page. Her shirts are really cool. That's actually one of the logos.
Okay.
It's
You
very.
got to get a sticker backing off the business card that Matt sends.
Yeah.
Just put it on there.
I'm gonna wear it for a Truth Behind Illusion show.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna wear my Kaya shirt. Here you got Willow, who goes at the last Leapfrog Live.
Alley Cat.
An Alley Cat, yeah.
There's Ricky Morton.
Ricky Morton.
What do you think independent wrestling?
Yeah. When you think, he's going to be in the Super 8.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's going to be in the Super 8.
That's awesome.
Ricky Morton, Matt Mikowski. Super 8's going to be fun this year.
Wow.
Who am I missing? Killian.
Killian's
going to be in the Super 8.
And the next page here is Butch and George Cassandra Cup. So you have San Laterne interviewing.
I thought you said George Costanza Cup,
Yeah.
and I was like, what?
It is George Cassandra. They changed it.
The Cassandra Cup.
Yeah.
Which was won by Edith Surreal of Camp Leapfrog.
So there's Edith and Sam, Camp Love Frog people there.
Molly and Killian.
That's Edith there. There's Darius, who's making his Leapfrog debut this at Matt Mikowski's Frog Sport.
Okay.
By the way, when, not if, when you sign up for independentwrestling.tv, watch Camp Leapfrog, watch Frog Sport for sure. Go back and watch the IWTV family reunion from WrestleMania weekend. The very first match is the Camp Leapfrog Trios match, which was very good. Erica Lee, the Boar, and Boomer Hatfield against Matt Mikowski, Travis Huckabee, and a very good professional wrestler. And then watch the very last match, which by winning that Cassandra Cup, Edith Surreal did get a IWTV title match against Lee Moriarty, and that is an excellent match. Both of those are well worth going out of your way to see.
There may also be a Edith Surreal match in the.
Oh, there is.
I think there might be. I know they filmed it a while ago. I don't know if they're putting it in this one, but
Frogsport, I believe they've announced the Russian death match.
That's it.
Russian death match.
Edith Surreal and Masha Slamovich.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with her.
I didn't see the match.
Masha is good.
But I heard it gets crazy.
Really?
Yeah. It's gonna be fucking insane. So yeah, they announced that.
I believe they did.
Yeah.
If Alex is still around, he can confirm. But I know they set up the big thing with Edith had the art installation.
Oh, when she attacked in the thing and power drove her through the table.
Yeah.
Well, that was on Facebook. Yes.
Yeah.
I seen that.
So that match is coming, and holy
cool.
Yeah.
This really seems like it may be Edith Surreal's year, and nothing but big things are ahead for her. So
yeah, she's cool people's.
If she can survive the Russian death match.
Yeah.
Russian death match.
I think what we might try to do is we're gonna try to figure out a day where we can maybe sneak some. I'm just gonna open the door to anyone because I can do up to 10 people on this. We'll have it like looking like a family squares here.
That might be people talking over each other. This is the whole show. Just gonna be.
We'll talk before we hit the button. But
Froggy Wood Squares.
Froggy Wood Squares. I like it. But yeah, we'll have some fun. Maybe we'll get some people talking.
Well, you know how the show ends, right?
How's that end?
You tell me when. You give me a countdown, and I'll end the show.
You getting it right now?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
It's Tony Shivani. You know how it ends.
Okay.
Kids, we are desperately out of time. We gotta go until next week. Cut.